Right, so Darcy sitting with me now. I've gone through this with a bunch of the other guys beforehand. Let's just say it was contentious what I'd done. Um, so we'll get to some of the weapons, but in particular, like Laser Destroyer on the Vindicator, I changed up to like 4 shots now at strength 10.
Yes.
Um, and the last edition, Tim's like, oh, that's so oppressive. Like, but last edition it was 3 shots, twin linked, Ordnance and Sunder. Like, I feel like that was much worse. So, auto weapons now. I've included Architect Pistol as an auto weapon. Like, it was its own category, and there are no other Architect weapons. So, I threw it in there.
Yeah, fair enough.
Strength 6, AP3, Pistol 1, Rending 3 plus Mastercrafted. There are very few rerolls. I've essentially got rid of Shred as a rule. So, if you do see it pop up, it shouldn't be there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so weapons wise, concussive is in there. It's going to function the same way as 2O. So if you take a
Yep.
wound from concussive that sticks, -1 weapon skill for the rest of that game turn.
Mm-hmm.
Reaper autocannon. So I've gone to heavy 3 rather than heavy 2 twin linked.
Yep.
Assault cannon, I just got rid of that extra rule that was for when you
Perform a reaction. There's a
perform
chance that you
reaction, it can malfunction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got rid of that. Gravis autocannon is heavy 4, rending 5 plus.
Okay.
So rather than heavy 2 twin linked.
Mm-hmm.
The Gravis autocannon battery, so this would be the ball
Fire
turrets
Raptor
on the
one.
Fire Raptor. It's heavy
Yep.
6, because it's essentially
Ooh.
2 Reapers. So
Yeah.
rending 5 plus, because they're also big. So I want the size of the weapons, as we spoke about the other night, to play more into the addition.
Mm-hmm.
For Circle Edition, to play more into it. Because it's like, well, if you got a las cannon, for example, on a sponson on a Predator or something, it's gigantic. Why is it gigantic? And the one the infantryman carries is the size it is. Like, what are you telling me? The infantry one is really efficient. The one the vehicles just sucks. So anything that's a larger size, I've tried to up the firepower on it somehow as a way to balance it out to say like, well, why is it bigger on the vehicle?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Punisher rotary cannon hasn't changed. Predator cannon, rending 5 plus.
Okay.
Cat suggested alternate ammo types, and for years I've wanted that, but I feel like with a tank that, potentially can be a troop's choice in certain rights of war and such, do you really want to be like going through, oh, I'm going to use this round, I'm going to use this round, I'm going to use this round?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, but I would like the audience to throw me that feedback, what they would like to see, if they would want to have a high explosive or an anti-tank round on the Predator instead.
As much as you've gone and rebalanced everything, there is also the trap when you start introducing multiple ammo types to a weapon that there ends up being one correct choice. Not necessarily because one of the profiles is the best profile given the points, but also in part because of what the platform offers, that naturally one weapon type would suit it more than another weapon type.
Yeah, true. True, true, true.
I am noticing Predators you dropped back down to strength 7 for the Predator cannon.
Yes. At rending and strength 8, it's pretty oppressive.
Yeah.
Um, if you do get wounds through, they're just instant deaths, and it's a lot better at killing other vehicles. And I don't know how I feel about that because you're almost at the level of a vanquisher at that point. At
It's
strength
pretty
8.
close.
So, and it's not a vanquisher; it's a predator. It's supposed to be like a medium anti-tank weapon.
Mm,
Strength 8 with rending potentially can kill land raiders, which
it can. I think it's a fair trade off where it's like, okay, you're going to render on 5 up, which is far more consistent than a 6 up. Um, but you're dropping back down to strength 7, so it sort of evens out in terms of the amount of hull points you do against a land raider.
exactly.
But yeah, so I understand. I think it's a fair trade off.
Punisher rotary cannon, so shell shock 1 on the pitting.
Hmm.
Um, accelerated autocannon, so got rid of the twin linked, but it's now up to 8 shots.
Yeah, I wasn't Twin Link this edition anyway.
There you go. Keep in mind, I'm looking at when I've put all these weapons in here, I've used 1 and 2.0 profiles mushed together in a way.
Yeah.
Sky
Okay.
Reaper battery, it's gone up in shots. It was like 5 or something before. It was like just a random number.
Mm.
It's anti-air. You're hardly going to
So,
use it.
quick question: going back to the accelerator autocannon,
Yes,
is it because it's extra shock 6 up that you didn't make it rending 5 up like the Predator cannon? Because the
correct.
assumptions of
Though
it is,
the Rending and Exoshock 6-ups are both a 2.0 thing.
hmm
That's where that came from. I'm kind
okay,
of cool with keeping it that way, but I could be argued into going Rending 5 plus no Exoshock.
mm.
So it's on the board. Anvilus autocannon battery. So got rid of the twin linked, but we're up in shots to 6 shots.
Yep,
Rending 5 plus Sunder. Only strength
hmm
7, not strength 8.
mm.
So again, for the same sort of reason, at Rending 5 plus, strength 7, heavy 6, kill land raiders. But strength 8, you will kill land raiders. So with
Mm.
Sunder and Rending 6. Anvil snub autocannon, so heavy 3. So got rid of the twin linked, but gave an extra shot in compensation.
hmm
Leviathan Storm Cannon, heavy 6, rending 5 plus, but you do have to get that bit closer at 24 inches range.
Yep.
Vanquisher, no more brutal. Just heavy 2 and Sunder, and the Macarius Vanquisher, heavy 4, because shock horror, 2 Vanquishers mounted on the same turret. To me, that makes more sense than going heavy 2 twin linked. Just give it
Yeah.
2 extra shots, All right, artillery. We're back, baby. We're back. Baneblade, I made it a little bit stronger, but dropped the template size from that 7 because we agreed to get rid of the 7-inch.
Yeah.
Tremor went up from 7-inch to 10, but had a
hmm
slight tweak downgrade on it. Hellhammer is pretty strong because it's pretty much the same as the Dreadquake.
Yeah.
So, now Battle Cannon. My solution to the regular Lim Rust Battle Cannon is this. 48 inches range, strength 8, AP4. It's one shot. If you get a hit, then it's roll D3. That D3 is how many wounds you get to roll on the unit. So that's my solution to small blast templates. If you're shooting lots of weapons, I've added the fragmentation roll, and it's simply going to be a D3, a D6, or a D something plus a number, like D3 plus 2. And it just
hmm
saves having to roll that little blast template all the time, and people trying to min max the 2 inches coherency bullshit, like,
Yeah, it just speeds things up.
speeds things
Now,
up.
I know we probably touched on it in the last video or the one prior. Would the fragmentation roll be per model or per unit?
Per model.
Per model? Okay.
Per unit is just too swingy. Yeah, if you roll a 1D3 and it's like 10 siege turrets fired, that's pretty miserable, right? Because you just scored
Yeah.
as many wounds as you would with crack missiles. It's pretty.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's just one of those ones that keeps coming back. Like we had the a similar argument with how molecular acid bolt rounds were rolled in 1.0, where some people are like, no, you roll AP for the units, or no, we'll do it one by one. And I think from memory, we landed on just doing it once for the unit, just because it ended up being a bit cleaner. But no, that's fair.
Yeah, and the reason I've gone to a D roll, so a D3 or a D6, is because to represent the fact that like essentially the roll to hit is, let's say it's a rocket. It hits the model, that's what causes it to explode. The
Yep.
fragmentation is that explosion doesn't shrapnel hit the people around the point of impact. If I just say it always hits 3, well, that's going to be weird if you're shooting at 2 guys. And it's going to seem a bit
Mm,
odd if you shoot at 10 guys, you know? So
yeah.
that's why I've kept it in there. I don't necessarily love the randomization of it, but I feel like, especially if you're shooting something like 10 siege tyrants. Rolling through like 10 sets of small blast templates, or it's actually 20 sets if you're shooting 10 tyrants, is miserable. It's fucking
Oh yeah.
miserable. It slows the game down horribly. So just I cut it away because then now it's just all right. If I shoot 10 tyrants, that's going to be 20 dice. So 20 to hit rolls. Yep, got let's say 16 rolls. Okay, 16 D3. All right, that's how many I get to roll to wound now.
Mhm.
Like it's pretty clean. So
Yeah.
um and yeah, so Macarius Battle Cannon is funny enough. It's two battle cannons side by side. Guess what stats I gave it? It's two battle cannons. And this will also make battle cannons, I think, a lot better for like militia. Rending 5 plus, 1/3 of all your hits. So typically it's going to be, if you roll well on your D3, it's going to be 1 in 3 of your wounds is going to be a rending. So it's giving some teeth back to the battle cannon.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind as well, the Lehman Russ is a tank that's going to come down in points.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
while Predators are going up in points and Vindicators going up in points, the Battle Cannons and Lehman Russ will be coming down in points. Their lower ballistic skill, which makes a huge impact, and the way some values on weapons have gone, it's a lot harder for them to get their points back because they don't have like the side sponsors and shit like they did in 40k. And that hurts them a lot. So we're going away
Yeah.
from that. Fellblade. So the main gun is now up to 10 inches in size, the big boom.
Just how most people accidentally end up playing it.
Yep. It sounds silly, but a lot of people forget. I've had it happen to me where like turn 3, turn 4, the person's like, oh shit, I've been using the wrong template. Do you want to go back? And that's the statement you never want to hear. Do you want to go back, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't.
Look, and like fully coming clean, every single time I play with the Fellblade, which admittedly is like maybe once every 2 years in like a big APOC game, I always forget that the template isn't the right size and start using the 10-inch without like unintentionally. And it's like, now it just feels disappointing to go back to the 7-inch, which is what it should be.
Internet dirtbag.
So, yeah, total piece of shit.
The AP shell, it says AE for some reason. AP. The AP shell, is fragmentation now instead of small blast.
Yeah.
Why not? Kratos. The Kratos, I haven't really made much change to it. I think it's fine, the Kratos battle cannon, having the stats it had.
Yeah.
It's not as strong as the battle cannon on Lehman Russ, funny enough. It's different. It's got a chance to hit more models. All right, Demolisher. Demolisher cannon. We're back, baby. Keep in mind, this edition, ordnance will be move or fire.
Yeah.
The exception to that will be probably on Lehman Russ tanks, because they're going to have the heavy special rule, which will allow them to move like 6 inches and fire their ordnance.
Yep.
Which I think's fair.
Yeah, I think it's very fair. And like the big complaint with Vindicators in particular 1.0 was the ridiculous threat range they had. Because you just slap Machine Spirit on them, and it's like, oh, so I'll just move my full 12 inches, and then lob a 24-inch 5-inch template 24 inches. You can basically touch whatever you want on the board no matter what. Like,
Yeah,
there's
in turn
very
one.
few places. In turn 1, yes. And then, because if you take a Squadron 3, and, you know, if they've all got Machine Spirit, that's 3 separate units that they can target.
Yeah, so
it's like, well,
they're not getting that power of the Machine Spirit. That's not happening. Power of the Machine Spirit is a rule I've always hated, and I'm going to show my bias this edition by convincing everyone that we're going to veto it. All right, quad launcher. I've just gone fragmentation will be D6 plus 4. Because rather than having to throw a template down, why not just say D6 plus 4? Just puts a lot of hits on whatever it touches. Because otherwise, like, I was tempted to just use the Clover pattern template. I'm
Yep.
like, but it's the only shell type that actually uses blasts. The other
Yeah.
types use large blasts. I'm like, well, why not just go D6 plus 4 for the
Mm.
frag?
Not just that. The clovers, like, if you ask most people, most of them don't have a clover template. And it's a bit of a pain in the ass to go and try and source one these days. Like, yeah, you can, get a
I was going to
laser
make it
cutting
free to
blades.
3D print, but yeah, I'm going to get rid of it
Yeah.
from. Because I made notes after our whole session, as
Mm.
people should be seeing a lot of the changes that are coming. So keep in mind, this is the new Force Org chart, people. Yep, cool. All right. All right, where were we? Yep, so they're the weapon types. So artillery is very much going for pinning and shell shock and those kind of effects on the attacks.
Hmm?
So they're going to be strong across the board. No lies here. But that's going to be balanced out by one, it's move or fire, and two, high points values.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you're going to have some units have skirmish as well, like they did in 2.0. But high points value is going to be the big one. Like, paying 200 points for a Medusa is very different to paying 130 points or whatever for a Medusa. Like,
Yeah.
um, and they can still be messed up like they were in 1.0 by things
Mm-hmm.
like termites and haywire and all that good shit. Dreadhammer. So Ordnance 1, large blast 5 inches. Sunder, brutal 2. Now, brutal now is going to be, let's say it causes a wound on your model. You make 2 armor saves. Even if you fail both, you only take the 1 wound. So it's forcing you to take a number of saves equal to the brutal per wound allocated, but you will never suffer more than 1 wound. So it's not going to be brutal 2, and then you roll 2 failed saves and take 2 wounds.
Yeah, it's a consistency booster rather than a damage multiplier.
Correct. So it's saying, like, what you're getting hit by, you really deserve to be wounded by.
Mm.
So a lot of weapons that had shred have gone that way because I want to suggest that no, their brutality of the weapon shouldn't be in re-rolling to wound. It should be a guaranteed wound because it's like, like chain weapons, for example, like carving into a person.
Mm-hmm.
Thunderhawk, the size of the template went up. Thankfully, very few people play Thunderhawks, and it's not gotten any stronger apart from that. Like strength out AP4, I guess it can kill Solar Ox okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
not many people took it as a Thunderhawk cannon. Pretty much everyone upgrades it to the
Laser
turbo laser.
Destroyer, yeah.
Yeah.
Earthshaker, we're back, baby, with pinning and shell shock. And no
Mm.
rending. It's not killing Terminators unless they roll ones. And the Medusa is back, baby, with pinning and shell shock as well. Same reasons. Uh, killing power is going up, but points are going up commensurate.
Mm-hmm.
All right, bolt weapons. They're rapid fire used to just be rapid fire. Now I'm calling them rapid fire 1, rapid fire 2. So combi
Mm.
alter is rapid fire 2. So you get 2 shots, but if you get within rapid fire
Yep.
range, you get to fire an extra shot.
So it's just an extra shot, not double shots?
I think double shots could be oppressive.
Yeah, particularly if you went up to rapid fire 3 for whatever reason. Like then it starts becoming a lot more outsized impact.
Yes. So this just represents it's 2 bolters slapped side by side. Why is it twin
Mhm.
linking things? Like I'm trying to get rid of. I don't like the narrative effect of it. Um, Rather than doing re-rolls for things, I'm saving re-rolls pretty much just for Mastercrafted.
Mm.
The rest of the
It also
time,
has
I just want it to be surety of damage, not going back in time and replaying the event.
Yeah. The other thing as well, and it's something that 3.0's seemingly made a conscious effort to do, is that when you cut out a lot of the rerolls, you actually end up speeding up everything. Just because, again, like you said, you're not going back and re-rolling stuff. Even if you're rolling more dice in the moment, it's easier to just pick up 30 dice and roll them once, then roll 15, go like, okay, these ones hit, these ones didn't, re-roll it. And like, look, for a single roll, or a single attack, it's not that much of a time difference, but over the course of like, a 5-6 turn game, might be 15 minutes.
Yeah. Nemesis bolters. I wanted it to be 36 inches. I thought that's a substantial gain over a bolt gun,
Hmm.
and everyone else I spoke to vetoed it. So like Randy, Tim especially.
Yeah.
I think that
Uh,
like having the longer range already on the Nemesis bolter. I mean, now it's not going to be able to snipe out characters. It's lost the sniper super special snowflake rule. It's just heavy
mhm.
one, rending 5+ pitting. Um,
No, fair enough.
48 inches is a huge range, and I don't know, I don't like that. I think it's too far, but I'm letting the group has said let's try it, so we'll play test it. But yeah, I just think it's
Yeah,
absurd range.
personally, I could go either way. I was never one to run Nemesis bolts as much in 2.0, so I don't have a huge attachment to them one way or the other. And typically, you see them on recon marines, which have scout, infiltrate, or also scout, in some cases. Which just means, if you drop down to 36-inch range, well, they're going to get a infiltrate move anyway. So if they really want to reach out and touch one particular unit turn one, turn two, they can guarantee it, or near enough guarantee it. So it's not the end of the world. But I do understand from the thematic point of view, having them at that 48-inch range, which it's sort of your hard stop with that long range weapons until you get into like the truly apocalyptic scale stuff or artillery.
Yes, I'm just gonna clean up my so heavy bolter going to salvo 2-4. um
Hmm.
so and also the shrapnel. So I've included, by the way, the Legion weapons into here. People may have noticed that. So Gravis Heavy Bolter went up in shots. Gravis Heavy Bolter battery up to 12 shots now. So lots and lots and lots of shots, but I'm getting rid of that quad linked bull crap. Where again,
Hmm.
twin linking, like what's the end result work out to be? Like 8 shots twin linked, or just go heavy 12. Like heavy
Mm.
12. It works out to be about the same number of hits. So because it's like that whole, oh, if you twin link ballistic skill 3, ballistic skill 4, that's essentially just giving you ballistic skill 5.
Fine.
You know,
Yeah, more or less.
yeah. So heavy 12, I think, just and heavy 8 on the Gravis bolt cannon. So just getting rid of those double rolls.
Yeah.
Uh
And there's
yeah, go on.
I was gonna say there's something about the monkey brain that just appreciates rolling, more dice.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. Um, and I want people to take things like quad heavy bolters. Why not? All right,
Yeah. Because
shrapnel.
that's shrapnel. Go.
Yeah, so I'm including all the weapon options basically into, as I said, into the tables here, into the relevant sections. So shrapnel weapons, um, the Iron Warriors specific weapons, they'll be keeping those.
Hmm.
Spoilers, as you and I were speaking about last night, the Iron Warriors are going to go pretty much back to their 1.0 trait. We do not want them having bullcrap. I just hate your vehicles, so I shoot them harder. Like that was dumb. It makes no sense for an army that's all about like resilience in no man's land and taking the fight to the enemy with attrition warfare. So
Mm.
yeah, pinning and shell shock on their weapons. The shrapnel cannon. So basically, they've slightly reduced range. They lose essentially about a third to a quarter of their range. It really varies from weapon to weapon. I
Hmm.
have added, though, the Gravis Shrapnel Cannon battery, so now they can take the pinning rounds on their rapiers. It was dumb how they couldn't
Nice.
before, but their dreadnoughts could, but their rapiers couldn't. All right, Asphyx
Um,
weapons. Yeah, go.
I was just gonna say, are you gonna make it that if you take a shrapnel bolter, you can take a bayonet? Because that's something I found really silly in the 2.0 rules. It's like we've changed the ammunition in the magazine, therefore we cannot attach a bayonet.
Yes, they will be able to take a bayonet. It is very Iron
Okay,
Warriors.
good.
Um, Asphyx weapons. So you'll see I've added a new special rule I've created called Psychic Weapon. Psychic
Hmm.
Weapon is a rule that exists entirely for if you're fighting something like a Psychic Nulls, like Sisters of Silence, and it will
Hmm.
halve the strength of the weapon used against them.
Oh, okay.
because it's a psychic thing, so it gets worse when used against that faction because
Makes
they're
sense.
knocking the wind out of it. In
Mm.
this case, the Asphyx weapons now confer blind, so they gave force to them before. I think was stupid. Um, so now it's blind. So essentially, you're trading a bit of your range potential with your bolt weapons for the chance at blind checks, which I think is more thematic.
Interesting.
Bane Strike Bolter, rapid fire breaching 6 plus, just slightly shorter range, and the Combi Bolter is now rapid fire 2. So 2 shots base instead of 1 shot twin linked.
Nice and straightforward.
Bolt Spitter, Heavy Bolt Spitter, Greater Bolt Spitter, the Word Bearer's corrupted unit type weapons, essentially. The only real
Mhm.
change here was I gave the Heavy Bolt Spitter Salvo 2/4.
Yep.
So, and I'll just put in there 18 inches / 36 inches. So I want all the values listed. And when I get to particular units, I really want to, I think, if a unit has like a unique weapon that's on it, I want to include it in the unit entries. People can just see it all on the one page, ideally. I'm not going to do this with
Hmm.
like tactical marines and bolt guns, but with like Centurion consoles, for example, or tanks, like boom, there it is.
Yep.
And the Scatterbolt launcher, of course, is the White Scars weapon. I've got Concussive 1 with it as well. Salt 1,
Okay.
Pinning, Concussive 1. All right, combi weapons. No real change, except Plasma got its balls back.
Oh, thank Christ.
So, yay. And frag grenades are Fragmentation 3 now, instead of Small Blast. Because again, think about a whole unit firing combi grenades all at once. Do you want to
Hmm.
roll that many blast templates?
No, God, no.
Exactly. So, Gets Hot. Gets Hot, I should talk about. Originally, I was going to do a 2.0 style. Gets Hot is on the AP of the weapon. So, no save unless you got an invul. Had a lot of pushback from someone named Timothy about that. He's like,
Mm.
no one will ever take him, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, it's a trade off. Like, the ability to absolutely slaughter units, should have a hard trade off. So
Mm.
I'm thinking of meeting him halfway, and I don't want to just give you like you just take your regular armor save, but I think if you get it gets
Mm.
hot, it should be a 4 up, 4 up whether you take a wound or not. No armor save, just a flat 4 up.
I I disagree.
Shoot away.
I'm with
Give us
your
your
initial.
options.
I'm with your initial feeling. Your weapon's blowing up in your hands, and we typically associate gets hot with either plasma or disintegrator weapons, and it's literally the ammunition prematurely detonating either within the weapon or just out of the barrel and it hitting you. From a thematic or a lore sort of point of view, I see that as you're essentially shooting yourself with plasma or disintegrator, and as such, you should really be copping the AP from it. And from a balance point of view, like I get that Tim's saying like, oh, if you're going to cop the AP, then no one's going to take it. I don't think that's the case because for the like disintegrator in 2.0, it's zero difference, right?
Mm.
With plasma, it's like, well, you're still. It's one of the few AP2 weapons with decent range that's on infantry that's fairly portable. It's not as static, and I think it's a fair trade-off. And one thing we haven't actually spoken about is what's the intended mortality rate for the end of the game? Because that's something that was touched upon in 1.0, and I believe it was Alan Bly that was speaking about it at one point. And he said, I think it was at some point at one of the open Heresy Weekenders or the open day around the first 3 books, that at the end of the game, about 80% of both people's armies should be dead.
Yeah, that's
And you
very
should
much
only have.
the route I'm heading down. And I feel like if you, and this is where my initial thoughts were on Plasma, was if you say to people like you get strength 7 and you get AP2 and there's minimal risk of you getting wounded by it, then it just becomes a
Mm,
go-to, which it was in
yeah,
1.0. And I think it
And
becomes oppressive then.
yeah,
And
now,
Tim's reasoning, which I understand, was he's like, well, it's just venting like steam out the weapon and radiation, and that's why like Terminators get a 2-up save against it. It shouldn't really be hurt by it. And like, but then you're basically like immune to the effects of plasma. So like, what is the downside to taking the weapon? He's like, well, you just give it a lot of points. I'm like, well, I don't think that giving the weapon a ton of points is the solution. I think that's the solution to some problems in the game.
but
But
not
if you're
every.
telling me that my tactical support marines are going to be like 40 points a pop because they're paying 30 points for a plasma gun, like, what happens
That's
then if they never fire that gun and take a big hit? You lose
yeah.
an absolute ton of points, and there was no like risk reward there. It was just shit luck happened, and now you have a feels bad. Whereas I think the
Mm,
feels bad should come from the consequences of your own actions, which would be electing to rapid fire your plasma guns.
hmm
Is
Now,
high
where
risk, high reward, right?
because nothing ever forces you to fire the additional shot from rapid fire. It's always optional. So if you really, for whatever reason, can't stand losing those models because it gets hot, well, you just don't take the risk. You only fire with the standard shot rather than the additional shot as well. I'm willing though for vehicles because vehicles don't have an armor save. But I'm willing for their gets hot to be mitigated on 4-up. And that was something that it used to be like back in 5th edition prior and possibly even 6th edition. Vehicles were just immune to gets hot. And then from memory in 7th edition, as well as Heresy 1st edition, vehicles ignore gets hot on a 3+. I'm willing to, I think a 4-up is more than reasonable.
It makes it a
And
50-50
generally,
then, and
yeah.
because otherwise, and again, another thing is it becomes very oppressive for non-Astartes.
Mm,
Like, if you want to run these weapons and you play Militia or Soul Rogues, you're like, well, I guess I'd just get fucked when I roll with this weapon. Whereas Astartes have no, it was like playing 2.0 and like if both sides had basilisks, the Astartes are like rubbing their hands together with glee looking at the militia force, and the militia are like crying in the corner because they know that they're about to be just ass pounded. They're going to
mm.
get Bonnie blued, and 1,000 Astartes are about to go through them.
Oh, God. That's a mental image I didn't need.
Now I've lumped conversion beamers and disintegrators into a new class, exotic beam weapons, as opposed to, because they're like all weapons here counted as conversion beam weapons or whatever for the purposes of these rules. I thought it's a bit silly. Just call them exotic beam weapons and just lump them all into the one category. It's like shit that works and we're not quite sure how. It's like orc technology. I've added as well the heavy disintegrator. So 18 inches range when fired in Salvo 1, and Salvo 2 is the full range 36 inches, 2 shots, instant death gets hot.
hmm
And
So, what about the inversion beamer, Mecha?
yeah, no, that's not going to be a thing. If we're going to have conversion beamers, disintegrators and all that on like our Sat 9 dreadnoughts and stuff. Spoiler alerts now. We spoke about it last night. Basically, Space Marine Centurions from 6/7th edition 40k is essentially what Sat 9 are going to end up becoming. And the Sat 9 Dreadnought is going to be quite similar to the Telemon, but armed with as a Dakar monster, essentially. But without
hmm
things like Skyfire and such.
Yeah.
All right, Graviton weapons. So, because Graviton weapons leave the Grav in their wake,
hmm
um, I'm leaving them with blasts instead of shrapnel because I'm like, you still miss, but it's like a gravitational anomaly has still hit that area. Even if it hits the ground, it hits no one, right?
Mm.
So I've left them with the Graviton Pulse special rule,
hmm
but I've added in, like I said, the Legion weapons. So Grav Pistol, Grav Shredder are in here. Other than that, I haven't really made many changes because I think Graviton was in a good place. It just needed a few points tweaks.
Yeah, I think the only one that wasn't in a good place was the Gravflox Bombard. All the other ones were fine.
Yeah, and I'm going to change how both Grav Collapse and Torsion Crusher work because they're two unique rules to that weapon. And that
Mm.
should fix that up. All right,
Mm-hmm.
Laz. Now, here's where things get exciting. So I've got Laz Cannon.
Yep.
No Sunder now, it's gone. Heavy Las Cannons. So this is on a vehicle. So Predator sponsons are heavy Las Cannons. Gravis
Yep.
Las Cannon is Dreadnought Arm Predator turret. Because again, like,
Yep.
why do you have a Las Cannon the size of that in the turret of a Predator if an infantry Las Cannon gets you the same result? Wouldn't you just put 4 infantry-sized ones and take up the same real estate? Like, you don't even need the power pack of the vehicle because clearly you could just strap like 4 infantry backpacks inside the hull would do the same fucking job. So there's got to be a bonus to it, right? So to me, the bonus
Mm.
is strength. Strength goes up to 10. Especially because Heresy has moved the goalposts on toughness of vehicles. There's a lot more armor 14 and there's a lot more armor 15, or well, equivalent to armor 15 because of flare shields.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, strength 10 is not oppressive. And we actually rolled it out earlier. In particular, we rolled out the las cannon array, and we rolled out the Magna laser destroyer in particular.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll get down to those. So las cannon array, so that's the quad las cannons on a Spartan. Stays at heavy 2, the same as the Gravis las cannon, but gains sunder.
Yep.
So the 4 shots is just giving you more chance of damage now, rather than twin linking it. The Arachnus Heavy Las Cannon, Armor Bane. It's only 2 shots though. But whatever it touches will get hurt.
Really fucking good shots.
And Exo Shock 4 Plus, like, it's going to get hurt. But I don't think that will be oppressive. Only 2 shots. If you have 2 Derrideos, that's 4 shots. 4 strength 10 AP2s with Armor Bane. I guess dangerous. Like,
It might be one that after a bit of review and a bit of playtesting, we might go, maybe we drop it down to heavy 1.
Or Sunder.
Or Sunder rather than Armor Bane. Because I do agree that the Arachnus Heavy Las Cannon needs to be effectively the premier single-barreled Las Cannon. Like, obviously, we've got like laser and magna laser destroyers.
Well, it does come as a paired weapon, so it's both arms of the Dreadnought are committed to this.
Yeah. And, we can represent that as, heavy 2, for example. Or we can just make it 1 shot, but it gets the Armor Bane rule. Like, there's a bit of play with it. But it should be, like, the ultimate standard of, like, it's the top tier of las cannon, if that makes sense.
Yes, it's as powerful as, like, most las cannons will get. Laser Destroyer. So, the Rapier. Strength 9, AP 1, Ordnance 2, Exo Shock 6+.
Fine.
I think it's fine. It's in a good place. If you make it too much stronger than that, it becomes a go-to. Now, Magna Laser Destroyer. So this is the Vindicator. Ordnance 4, Exo Shock 6+, Strength 10, AP 1. Tim was like, oh, bring back the 1.0 rule. And I love it narratively. But he was like, bring back the 1.0 rule where it was like, move and fire less or stay still and fire more shots. I'm like, well, 36 inches range. Most of the time, I just sat still with mine when I ran in my 1,000 Suns, and I had 3 of them. You run 3 of them. Have you ever felt like, oh, I've got to move? Like, I just can't do anything with these. I would say it's like a 1 in 4 games thing.
No, actually, I was pretty frequent in moving them in the opening stages of the game. Just because most of the tables that I ended up playing on, or at the points level we were playing on, I couldn't line up my shots for turn 1 if they stood still. But as well, they could get up to 3 shots in 1.0. You had the 1-shot base, you had the additional one at no risk for sitting still, and then the third one, you essentially rolled against hot roll, to see if you'd always get the third shot, but on a 1 you copped a hull point to yourself, right?
Yes.
And generally, I was like, nah, a bit of risk, especially in turn 1, is worth it, because ensuring that I kill whatever unit it might be in turn 1, whether it was a Typhon or a Spartan, and I needed to move to line up that shot, it was worth potentially damaging those laser vindies.
Yeah, it was a no thought
So,
process, wasn't it? Like you just
yeah, it
did
was
it.
like, yeah. And then in 3.0, sorry, 2.0, it just going to a flat 3 shots all the time. It sort of ended up being like oh, this is really nice. It's more or less where it was anyway. But,
Yep.
is what it is.
So I've removed Twin Linked, but I've given it an extra shot. We rolled it out. It, like half kills, not even half kills on average at Fellblade.
Yeah. The other thing as well is that once you get to sort of like 3-4 shots in these anti-tank weapons, again, with the changes we've made to Circle Edition, probably not the same case. But the Twin Link as a consistency bonus, it usually didn't make or break you one-shotting a tank. What it really did let you do, though, is shoot at flyers and actually have a really good shot at taking one down. Because 3 shots
Oh
Twin
yeah,
Link,
you bastard.
yeah. Like, it's a real piece of shit thing, because no one goes like, oh, Vindicator firing at a plane. Oh, it's probably not going to hit. Oh, shit, it hit really, really easily. And actually got 2. And because, they're strength 10, most flyers are armor 12 at best. That thing's going down. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
And I've seen you do that where like you
oh,
shot
yeah,
down multiple
multiple times.
flyers. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's not pretty.
And it's not
And
an
the other,
ability that vehicle should have.
no,
Like it can't even
it's
aim that high up into the air. It physically cannot pivot.
exactly. It's just that unintended consequence of like giving a vehicle twin linked. Like even if you got 6s, if you got enough shots, you're probably going to hit one, and because of the quality of the shots, it's probably going to take the plane down. And it losing twin linked doesn't bother me that much because I didn't realize throughout all my time playing with them in 1.0 that they were twin linked.
There you go.
So yeah, I'm fine with that.
So going down the list, the neutron weapons, they functionally are the same. Strength 10 AP1 weapons.
Yeah.
With high concussive plus shocks pulse. Like,
Yep.
yeah, they're nasty.
Would we be using 1.0 or 2.0 shock pulse?
Good question. I like it shutting down everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's a high risk, high reward, and it makes them a high target priority as well for
Yep.
people, which I like. Now, Volcano Cannon, not a D weapon anymore, but Ordnance 1 Large Blast ignores cover Brutal 3, and it's Strength 14 with Ordnance. It's going to pen.
Oh yeah. If it hits you, you're probably dead.
The only thing I'd consider adding to it in addition would be giving it Exo Shock like 4+. So when it pens, it really pens.
I mean, yes, but at the same time, it's almost like putting a hat on a hat with the amount of shit we've already given it.
Hence why I haven't given it anything else so far. Twin Volcano Cannon. Guess what? 2 guns, 2 shots. If anything, I am consistent. Neutron Wave Cannon, Brutal 2, and the Turbo Laser Destructor, Brutal 3, because, again, when that thing hits flesh, it's a fucking Turbo Laser Destructor. It's firing las cannon beams the size of Astartes. They're huge. If it hits you, that's bad. And I added the las cutter in here. It was in the miscellaneous weapons. It's a fucking las cannon with short range. That's what the las cutter is. Just put it here. So I slapped it in here. And I increased its stats. It was only strength 8 before. I'm like, well, why?
Hey, boys.
Yeah.
Like, it's a just recording at the moment, Randy.
Oh, hello.
So feel free, just going through the list of weapons profiles.
Oh, cool, sweet. I'll go to full screen, move her over, and I'll fucking join in.
So yeah, las cutter, 8 inches range. I'm like, I'm not breaking the bank here. Strength 10, AP 1, Assault 1, Armor Bane. The only unit that pretty much has it is Breaches, which they should be able to cut things up, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, flame weapons. So I've included pretty much all the flamed weapons into this section. The big change here is Flamestorm is going back to AP3, but I've dropped the torrent down to 6 inches instead of 18, because otherwise it would be oppressive.
No, that's fair.
And we're putting Flamestorm back on the Dreadnoughts, the boxies again?
Yeah, Boxies have got them.
Nice.
Yeah.
The Death Guard's weapons are in here as well. So Death Cloud, Alchem Pistol, Alchem Flamer, Alchem Combi Flamer, Heavy Alchem Flamer. They're all in there. Salamanders
They're all 1.5, aren't they? 1.5 style. You did them.
Yes. So, and Dragon's Breath Combi Flamer, I've added in. It was not a weapon the Salamanders had. It did exist, and it only existed on one of the special characters and on the
Dreadnought.
No,
not the Dreadnought.
No, the Salamanders.
Chaplain?
No, it was the silly little one of those exemplary battles in the Age of Darkness units had them as their main weapon. For some reason, it was not an option for Salamanders to buy. So if you bought a Combi Flamer, it was the weakest Flamer in your army. It made no sense, so I've added it in here.
Just from a formatting point of view, should that fall under the combi weapons table rather than the flamer table?
Yes.
I thought about that, but they don't in the existing tables in either first or second edition.
Oh, he's already done the due diligence. Yes.
Yeah,
so
fair enough.
I was surprised at that myself, hence why they ended up here. The odd one out is, of course, the Pyroclast Flame Projector. Which, I mean, it's a melter weapon, half of it anyway, but melter is the next section, so ta-da, melter weapons. Big change here is multi-melter, so multi-melter is gone to a salvo weapon. I just think that's more thematic than 2 shots with twin-linked.
Yep, I agree.
Gravis Melter Cannon on the Dreadnought is just heavy too. I think that's plenty for a Dreadnought.
Yeah. Especially considering if they've got 2 of them, then they're going to have 4 shots. So
yeah, you've got multi-melter that can always move and fire at full shots.
Like and it's 24 range as well. 24 range is good. 36 was too much.
Now, the Magnum Melter Cannon, I've gone away from the large blast and instead gone to fragmentation D6. So it's roll dice, single dice if you get a hit, right? Then it does D6 hits on the unit.
So roll D6, that many wound dice to roll.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cyclonic Melter Lance, so that's gone heavy 4 Armor Bane Melter, which it was.
What was that on again? What's Cyclonic? Is that on the
Leviathan?
No.
Leviathan.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Yep.
Siege Melter Array, so this is the one on the Macedon. I tossed and turned on this. It was 6 inches range.
Yeah, it needs to be way bigger. And look how big it is.
It's massive. It's Magna Melter sized. So I've gone 18 inches range, so it's Melter at 9, which I think is fine for a unit that size. If you're getting within 9, if you're letting it do that, that's on you.
Yeah.
Heavy 4, instead of 4 small blasts, it's now fragmentation D3 plus 1.
Cool.
Pretty simple. Do remember it's also a very limited arc because it's just on the fucking nose of the Macedon. But the nose itself, it has like 6 melter guns built into the front.
It does, and one of them is huge too. It's massive. You've got the Space Wolves one at your place, don't you?
Yes, and I used to have I had a Thousand Suns one. My one was from the original first batch.
Yeah.
Got it from the open day.
You got yours from Forge World, hey? Like yours is a legit one.
You guys have seen my collection. All my Primarchs are legit, 18 of them. And like I had so much legit stuff until they burned me. So
until they burned.
Because fuck them. All right. All right. Grenades and missiles. So again, why grenades didn't even have their own like category. I've just decided that missiles is a category that suits them well. So I've chucked them in here. Angel's Tears are in here. The grenade discharges, which are the Dawnbreaker cohort, those little fucking pejorative, negative pejorative. What is the British word for cigarettes? Those grenade launchers on their arms.
Thank you for the demonetization, Randy.
I know, like a pile of sticks.
Yeah, South Park's not.
Actually,
What do you call someone who rides a Harley and just revs it loud at traffic lights? Angel's Tears grenade discharger. So, yeah. So, yeah.
Nice.
That sits in there. No great changes to any of this stuff.
Good.
The assault grenade launcher, that is the Death Guard one. I'm putting all the weapons into the table, so rather than people having to flip through to the specific rules for their Legion to find out their unit's weapons, it's all in the one set of tables.
Yeah, good.
So if they print this out, they can just literally just scroll down to the appropriate section. It's all going to be.
And the best part is, like, what they could do too is, like, once that if they print that out and their army has a certain list of weapons they can use, they can just run a highlighter over them.
Yeah, easy.
I know I'll probably do that. So
assault grenade launcher, that's the Death Guard one. Missile launcher. So fragmentation D3 and pinning. It was pinning in 2.0, funny enough. You know what? Very few people take frag missiles. You want to cause pinning? Go for it.
Yeah, I like it.
The Havoc launcher, fragmentation D3 with 2 shots. Hunter Killer Missile. I have increased its abilities. I buffed it. I gave it Sunder.
Okay.
It was so underwhelming having a Hunter Killer Missile be like just a regular crack missile.
Weren't they only really cheap in points though, like 5 points or something to take one?
Even then, you didn't really take it. You took him in 1.0 on javelins just because it was a suicide unit, and it's like fucking 10 extra points worth it just for the extra strength 8 shots.
Oh, what have my siege tyrants got now?
Oh, that would be down further. Cyclones.
Oh, okay, we'll wait down. Yeah.
So, funny enough, in 2.0, they have their own missile launcher, the Tyrant missile launcher, which is the same as the Cyclone missile launcher. So,
no. Well, they have the Skyfire missiles as well, Macca.
Yeah,
no,
true,
so does the Cyclone.
Oh, really?
Does
yep.
it? Oh,
Yep.
Okay.
I did not know that.
So, yeah, there was technically a difference in the earlier drafts and that. They had it at a 5-inch blast on the Javelins.
Oh, the anti-pistol. Oh, on the Javelin one. Yeah. Okay.
So, gone away from that. Deathstorm missile launcher has stayed as it is. Deathstorm
That's from the drop pod, isn't it?
Yep.
Deathstorm drop pod.
That unit is getting a buff.
Yeah.
Oh, thank Christ.
Rotary missile launcher is now heavy 4 instead of heavy 3 twin linked.
Fucking Christ.
That was fucking brutal on Xiphons.
Oh yeah.
Arcus missile launchers, so they've lost the twin linked but gained a couple of extra shots along the way. They're not the Arcus of 1.0 where it's like sit still, fire twice. That ain't happening. It's just a silly rule because it becomes a no-brainer. People just go, 48 inches range. That's most of the table. I guess I'll sit fucking still and anything in line of sight, I'll just fucking shoot 8 missiles at it. This is pretty fucking easy. Yeah.
This fucking snake on top of the quickie mark going, you live, you die. You live, you die.
Yeah, it was horrible. So that's gone. Now, Cyclones. Heavy 2, frag D3, pinning.
Cool.
Easy. So no more rolling a shit zillion templates. It's just, for Tyrants, you'd roll 20 to hits. If you got 10 Tyrants, let's say you get 16 hits. Then you roll 16 D3, and then that's how many to wound rolls you make. No twin linked, no going back and forth, no this, that, and the other. Just no rolling 20 different blast templates and going, does that hit 2 guys or does that hit 3? Or you spread them all out perfectly. That's 1. Stuff that. Just oppressive. The Praetor launcher, that got a buff. It's got up to 10 inches now.
Yeah, it needed it. Yeah,
it was useless in 1, and I improved
it was useless always.
What have you done with the Scorpius Smacker?
It looks like he's taken some AP off.
Yeah. It's been reduced down to less oppressive, but if it scores wounds, huzzah.
It's instant. Yeah.
The
So what
rocket
does-
barrage special rule will essentially be if you sit still, it will gain like breaching.
Yep. Breaching 4 up or
Yeah, breaching 4 up.
okay.
So not as oppressive as rending in this edition. It's not going to be gaining like multiple shots, fucking all that piss.
Yeah, just one. Yeah, no, that's fair.
Stasis missiles, so that would be Dark Angels, Heavy 1, Fragmentation D3, and Concussive 1. So if a wound gets through,
Makes
the
sense.
unit drops a weapon skill point.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like
Because,
that.
For
Are we giving them?
Mataris,
Oh, sorry. Did you
Yeah.
give acid rounds back to them, but obviously balance them?
I haven't yet.
Okay,
So
cool.
jury's out on
'cause
how I
that's
want to
cool.
handle it.
Yeah, because it was cool, but it was a bit crazy in 1.0. But I think we can fit it in a way and make it work. Maybe make them rending or something, like rending 6 or something, and they get less shots.
Maybe? Might be a good case
Breach.
for breaching.
I'd say, yeah, breaching. Well, here's the tricky thing: is because fluff-wise, they were designed to go against the large monstrous creatures, the large xenoforms. In which case, rending would make more sense, as it's guaranteed to
Get that
wound a beast,
wound.
regardless
Yeah, well-
of how tough it is.
because
However,
so we
I
could.
think
Oh, sorry, go.
I was going to say, however, a combination of Fleshbane, of like even if it's like Fleshbane 3 up,
Oh yeah, flashbang.
Um,
That's a good idea.
with breaching over rending, would mean there's no chance for abuse. With either contemptors, stuff that still has a toughness value, but arguably shouldn't be affected by it in the same way,
Yeah.
or somehow you're shooting into vehicles and you're killing shit you shouldn't. I think that's probably a more reasonable solution.
Yeah, sweet.
Now the full Mataris missile array. I had it at 36 for the Hellfire, but everyone was like, no, knock it down and get rid of the ignores cover.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I reckon.
and I had it at
Perfect.
AP3, but everyone insisted on making AP2. So
Yeah, AP2 doesn't ignore cover. You need line of sight. I think that's good. I think that works out good, and gets hot's good too.
I'm going to keep the Splinter missiles at 36. So I know it's weird having two different ranges on it, but it's no different to like Kraken bolters and
Yeah, 100%. Even
heavy
like,
for
and your
pinning. So it's like you can go the pinning rounds, or you can go the I really want to kill you rounds.
Yeah.
Darcy, by the way, we were talking about it earlier, Randy, the gets hot. Darcy was of the opinion that I was, like, it should be oppressive, gets hot.
Yeah, so I agree. High risk, high reward.
Yeah, because with Tim's way, like, if you're running Terminators, why the fuck wouldn't you use Plasma? If you're like,
You would.
oh, and he gets hot, I just 2+ save it. Like, it's just no fucking brainer, right?
You mean 4+ save if it's a Cataphractii and 5 if it's Tartarus? Because if it's AP2, they're gonna be taking their save on a fucking.
But
Tim wanted the old rules where it was just you took a regular save.
Yeah, take a 2+ save. Yeah.
Yeah, there'd be no reason why you wouldn't risk it for the brisket, right? You just go,
Yeah.
rapid fire, done.
Yeah, no, I agree.
We'll play it out, and if nobody ever takes Plasma, doubtful, it's 3/7 AP2 with a longer range
I'll
than
take it.
Meltar. People will take it.
I had a squad in my Iron Warriors in 1.0. I never left home without them. And when I planned my Raven Guard list, I had a squad of 10 of them infiltrating. So, they were always handy. So.
I also said before,
happy to let them die.
I know Tim was very much on the just make them like points way more to counter for it. But my thought is, like, if you take them, let's say you pay for a tactical support squad, you pay 10 points in Marine, and then you pay like 20 or 30 for the plasma gun. If that squad just cops like a stray Vindicator hit, you lose an absolute ton of points. There was no risk, no reward there. It's just you got fucked on, and that's just the feels bad.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So,
also, this is all contingent on you rolling ones to hit. Like, let's not pretend it's like, oh, fucking every time I shoot, every single guy's got the potential to die. Like,
unless
yes,
you're Michael.
yeah, well, if you fire 10 guys rapid fire, that's probably like 3 on average.
Yeah.
Like, it's 1 in 6, right? 18 is 1 in 3, 18 shots. You're firing 20. Let's say really bad, it's 4 of them. It's like, but you just fired fucking 20 shots. Like, you just hosed a fucking
You just
unit.
placed the Terminator
Yeah,
squad.
exactly. Like especially on a tactical support squad, that unit was never living past killing its first unit. Like,
And
let's.
they're
Never.
scoring as well in our edition. They're back
Unless
to
you do what I
scoring.
used to do, Darcy. I used to drive them out, get out, fire, and then park. And then I'd park the land, like use the Rhino to cover them, then re-embark in the Rhino, and then go to the next target.
Jeez.
I used to get heaps of kills with them, surprisingly.
Even then, it's only a Rhino you've parked in front of it. Rhinos aren't that hard to kill. So again, like
Yeah. I know what you're
it's
saying.
not the end of the world.
No, it's not. I lost guys to it before, and I didn't bother. I wasn't bothered because they did their job most of the time.
Now the
Didn't get
Hellfire.
pasted.
Plasma Executioner. Down to 36 from fucking 60 inches in 2.0.
Yeah, that was
Oh, no.
crazy.
Yeah. I've kept rending on it. I want it to have some ability to hurt vehicles. That's why it's got rending. Hellfire Plasma
it's a big one.
Carronade. Heavy 6 with Gets Hot. Heavy 1, Rending 4+, Gets Hot, Large Blast. So the Rending 4+, again, I want it to be able to hurt if it hits like a vehicle, which it can, especially with a stray 5-inch blast template. Like if you see Predator Squadron clumped up, touching side to side, fuck yeah, let's see if we can blow up a couple tanks here. I gave them both Gets Hot because if you Sustained Fire doesn't have Gets Hot, you'd be like, well, 6 shots.
Yeah, no, makes sense.
Probably going to hit more than a 5-inch blast. That's more consistent.
Yeah.
It would become a go-to.
Like, even with the rending on the Maxwell Fire, it's like, well, I'm not shooting at the Spartan. I don't really need the rending. Fuck it, heavy 6.
Yeah. So it gives you the options, and I don't feel like either of them is going to be a go-to. But if both...
What's the invol on a Deredeo? 5 up or 4
5
up?
up. 5 up.
5 up invol still? Yeah. I think that's good.
And a heavy 1 with Gets Hot, like it's a 1 in 6 chance when you fire the large blast, you take it Gets Hot. But the heavy 6, 1 in 6 times. So chances are you are getting hot. You are getting hot on Sustained Fire. Omega Plasma Array, similar sort of thing. I don't know why I've duplicated some values there. Sustained Fire, Heavy 8 Gets Hot. Maximal Fire, Heavy 3, Rending 4+ Gets Hot. Because again, this is the anti-vehicle mode. I think those are perfectly fine values. Omega, it went up to 10-inch blast, and people go, a 10-inch plasma blast, strength 9 AP2, oh my god, this will kill everything. Yeah, but 1, it gets hot. 2, that's no more impressive than all the fucking siege guns that are also like 10 inches radius that exist.
That's
like
the Titan weapon, right?
It literally comes on two vehicles, sorry. One's the Warhound Titan, and the other's the Stormblade
tank. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like we're putting this shit on Rhinos. Sorry, on Predators. Like, it's not. It's your opponent's army will have exactly one of these, and it's the sort of unit that no matter what it's got, it's probably all going to be in relatively the same realm of effectiveness.
Or it's going to be on the Macarius chassis, which is armor 13 at best.
Yeah.
Which is autocannons can glance it to death.
Yeah,
it's getting one of those miniatures now.
And if you roll a glance on an autocannon, guess what? That's rending. Guess what? You pent it. Guess what? It's fucked. So, all right. Plasma repeaters, plasma burners, plasma incinerators, plasma casters are all in here. So that's all your Dark Angels weapons. They are spread from asshole to breakfast in the Dark Angels actual section of 2.0 because they don't know how to write these books. I put them all into one lovely table.
Just put all weapons in a fucking thing at the end of the book.
So to give you an idea, 1 weapon is in the Cenobium section. 2 weapons are in the 2 of the weapons are in
Interrupters.
The Interrupters section, and then another one is in just their War Gears section.
Yeah.
So they're all over the shop, which makes referencing it a pain in the butt. So guess what? When they're in a table like this, it's a lot easier. All right, Ether Fire weapons. So Thousand Suns Plasmas. They're only AP3, not AP2. But they're psychic weapons, so they halve their strength rounding up against Sisters of Silence. because they've got null zones, right? I feel like Sisters of Silence should have an effect that affects things like psychic weapons. They didn't before.
Yeah.
In the past, Ether Fire weapons were strength 6, I think, but you had force rules, so they got +2 strength if you made a force. I'm like, well, no, it's just pointless dice rolling doing that each time.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I got rid of that. Warp Fire pistols, I've kept them as 2.0 stats because I think they're actually really balanced.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So that's the Word Bearer's plasma weapons. They're less strength, but breaching 4+ with pinning and shell shock 2 is strong. If it
Which
goes
one's
off,
the one
it goes
on
off
the
hard.
Dreadnought? Is that the Warp Fire cannon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Sonic weapons, I gave him their own section. Again, spread from arsehole to breakfast, and I added one. Gravis Cacophony. Guess what unit that goes on?
No idea.
Yeah, so it'll be an option for Predator tanks for their main
Dreadnoughts?
turret and for box dreadnoughts and Contemptor dreadnoughts.
Yeah.
Because I like noise dreadnoughts, and I think the Emperor's Children deserve those kind of toys. Why shouldn't they have them? So it's literally just Cacophony's weapon, slightly better AP. It's more shots because it's essentially a Volkite. It's almost a Volkite. The dual Culverin.
A Volkite that gets hot and shell shock.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah,
So trade-off there is the gets hot.
Like it. Yeah, that's fair. I think it's fair. Yeah, looks good.
You're not just going to go in and hose like Auxilia with it, even though it will instant kill them, because that gets hot. There is a trade-off there.
Yeah.
And your gunner gets hot every time you fire one at heavy 8. Unless you have really good rolling. But usually with good rolling also comes bad rolling. That one time you roll 3 ones. You know, we've all done it.
The other thing as well, even if it gets hot, it's not the end of the world. They're only, AP 4 and 5. Like, you still get your 3 up
save.
Yeah, it's more of an annoyance than anything.
And I think and I want to encourage thematic builds. Like, putting that on Predator tanks and Dreadnoughts is fun. Remember fun?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Volkites. So, main change here, Volkite Caliber. I gave that a salvo, 2-4.
That's the heavy weapon one, the heavy squad?
It was...
No, that's the attack support.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. Yep.
So, in 2.0, it was a heavy weapon on attack support.
That's squad. Right, it was too.
Which I thought was a bit dumb.
Yeah.
So, otherwise, no major changes, except if it had twin linked, it just got a couple extra shots. So,
Did the Falconet always have pinning?
Yes, believe it or not.
Right, because that's only on the Derridair, right?
Yes.
Yep.
What an odd thing.
What an odd thing to say.
Silly little bean.
It's like if only we had
silly little bean.
If only we had a Volkite dual Culverin, because there's dual Culverins on the Derridair.
Yeah, but the dual Culverin is now the formerly twin Volkite Culverin on the Contemptor. Reasons.
Why don't you just call it a Gravis Volkite Culverin or something then, for ease of learning?
Actually, I think it wasn't a Demi Culverin. It was one of the weird ones that wasn't called like a Gravis Culverin. It was something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
anyway.
It's
we'll
weird.
figure it out.
Volkite naming conventions are just confusing as fuck. Because we're like with bolt pistol, it's really easy. Like bolt pistol. Oh, yes, it's a pistol. Bolt gun. Oh, it's a rifle. Heavy bolter. It's a heavy machine gun. And you get to Volkites, it's like Serpenta, Charger, Caliver, Culverin, Dual Culverin, Falcon. It's like these are all like 16th century canon terms.
Yeah.
That's where they're from. You know, so it's like, yes, it's the 16-pounder Volkite Seeker. It's
Now I kind of want to see a Volkite 16
It goes chum.
Yes. The Austrians won't see this coming, gents.
Everybody get down. These ones go chum. Oh, what do we got?
Cast in bronze. All right, Phosphex. I have elected to get rid of Lingering Death.
Oh, what? Oh, I love Lingering Death,
Yeah,
but I see why you got rid of it. I love it, but I see why you got rid of it.
yeah, that's fair.
I've duplicated a bunch of the stats of these weapons when I've named them as well. So let me just get rid of that. Because I was trying to be thorough, I wrote down everything at the start of the weapons. So Phosphex Lingering Death was you left the templates as remains in play, like poisoned area effect templates that were difficult, dangerous terrain. And it was just a pain in the ass to housekeeping. Like, you got to now find a way to do it. Nothing was sold for that purpose. I used 5-inch brass Dreamcatcher rings and painted them like fluoro green, and then you'd have to like place them down the table. You hardly ever used them anyway because like your Medusa's firing that shit. Funny enough, target priority 1 in every fucking game I ever played. First game, I didn't even fire a shell before they were dead. You know, that was, I think I got to fire them in the second game. In the third game, they again died before I fired a shot because of
It's like
fucking
Vulcan.
squadron rules.
It's like Vulcan all over again.
Oh, fuck, man. Like, just the housekeeping that goes along with this stuff.
My name is Maka, and I hate Germans. And I hate the rules for Vulcan, and I hate the rules for Phosphex.
you joke about that, but when Lehman Russ's sword hits harder than Vulcan's hammer in 2-0, that's, I better believe that's a peddling.
That's paddling.
That's a peddling. No, so Lingering Death was just, it was a pain to housekeep it. So
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So what'd you go? Poison Thrap instead?
no, it had it already. So in a way, they
you fragged it?
Fragmentation. So rather than a template, especially because when you fire these, sometimes it's whole units firing it. Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? Just D3 hits. Yeah. You know, once it hits, it's done. And yes, same sort of thing. So all the way along, the only one that is kind of like 1-0 is the Medusa, where it still has crawling fire. So you place the large blast, and then you can move it up to 2 inches if it's still covered to cover more models.
Okay, yep.
That's the benefit.
Cool.
All right, then we're into the melee weapons, and ta-da! I've put all the Legion melee weapons into this section.
Mate, I have to pay it to you. You've done a good job. How long have you been working on this?
Too long.
I was going to say,
I did the list, right? This is the actual list for the viewers. 355 lines I ended up going through in spreadsheets to get it all in.
Good shit, bro.
So it works out to be about 320 weapons. But I've condensed it all down into 18 pages of charts. And that's for everything for the Astartes. And I'll be doing the same thing for Militia, Solar Ogs, Custodes, yep, all of it. Oh boy, am I going to fix Custodes' weapons. Because their weapons are a fucking shit fight as well in 1-0. Alright, so, Calibanite Warblade. User, Strength +1, Rending 6+, Power Sword. Whatever. You know, it's fucking Power Sword, but better. Tyrannic Greatsword, 2-handed, Rending 5+, Murderous Strike 5+. It was like Rending 4-up, Murderous Strike 4-up. I'm like, that's oppressive. Especially on Cenobium. And it's Strength 6. It's pretty solid anyway. Like, that's still instant kills fucking Solrox and Militia. Like, you don't give a fuck. And thought has to be made to balancing the game around. Most things is toughness 3. Once you get outside of Marines. You know, apart from big Mechanica monsters, big demons, and Custodes. Everything else is tough 3. Agrium Power Sword. So that's the Ultramarines Jump Boys Special Power Sword. Rending 5+, Duelist Edge 1. So it's Power Sword, but with Duelist Edge 1.
Yeah, cool. That's cool.
Power Glaives, that's the White Scars 1. User, Strength +1, AP 3, Melee Breaching 5+. I think that's fine. Kontos Power Lance, Strength User +6. I didn't want to just give it Strength 10, which is what it had before. I feel like things like Furious Charge should have an impact here. I didn't want to just do double strength either, because Kontos has always been Strength 10 weapon. Double strength is usually going to be Strength 8. So if you stack all of your abilities to be stronger on the user, congratulations, your Lance is going to be stronger on the user. It's still so funny enough, the special rule that it had that said you only get one attack, guess what that special rule was called?
No idea.
Less.
Unwieldy. Who thinks that's confusing?
That's definitely another rule somewhere else.
That's
Oh,
of
come
all
on.
the things Games Workshop could have picked, it's unwieldy, which is a rule that they already have used for literally 15 years.
Things that strike last.
Yeah. So
Strike an initiative 1 with your lance? No, that's a different rule.
yeah, so got rid of that rule. And I said may only be used on a successful charge, and it's one attack only. All right, frost weapons. Yes, they are there. Now, Frost Axe is where you first see Unwieldy being used. So, Unwieldy is now a negative initiative modifier. So, a Frost Axe is Unwieldy -2. So, it's -2 to your initiative when using that weapon.
So you'd be initiative 2, striking before people with their power fists.
Correct. If you have strikes last, like the Solarite Power Gauntlet, guess what that means?
You go after okay, quick one. Strikes last, does that go after the your Thunderhammers, etc.?
They're also strikes last.
So they're strikes last too, Thunderhammers?
Yes,
Alright, what about power fists?
strikes
Quick
last.
question with strike last.
Okay, cool. Strikes last is the new unwieldy, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So is strikes last initiative 1 or is it below initiative 1? So say for whatever reason
Strikes
I'm,
last will say equivalent to initiative 1 in its rules.
Okay.
That's what the special
okay.
rule will be. You strike at the initiative 1 step. And
Alright,
this cannot be improved.
Yeah.
There will be no initiative to Emperor's Children swinging power fists. It's no. They can improve
Thunderhammers.
Unwieldy with their higher initiative.
Yep.
Not strikes last weapons. Okay.
Yep. Gotcha. I like that. Good.
All right. Blade of Perdition. So Perdition weapons have gone to, instead of that weird, you take 2 wounds for every one that gets through. I just made them brutal 2. So
Yeah, easy.
make 2 saves, 2 chances to fail and take a wound.
Yep.
They'll be getting cheaper as well, and there'll be more units getting access to them. When you get down to the Talon of Perdition, that is the one that's on the Contemptor, the jump pack Contemptor.
Yep.
I gave it Brutal 2 because it didn't have it before, and I gave it +1 additional attack when paired.
Yeah.
Which is something I'm giving to Lightning Cores. So they're keeping that extra +1 attack for taking the Lightning Cores. Brutal, as I said before, is being used to replace Shred. So Shred's gone, no more rerolling to wound. Instead, it's Brutal. It's more chances at the actual wound getting through now. So I want to represent, like, you're literally tearing into someone with, like, 5 cores at once. That should be guaranteed wound if you're landing the blow. As opposed to more chances to land the blow. Which is, I don't like the taking a step back in time to re-roll it. That's a personal bias. And it makes it easier up front because you're not stopping the game to go back a step to re-roll things to then go forward a step. Picking out all of the 1s and 2s, rolling them again, going, oh shit, they mixed up with the other dice, I didn't separate them well enough. All the dumb shit that happens. It gets it out of the way. Sunset Blade, Falling Staff, Hat and Power Spear, all those silly weapons that they've added for Blood Angels. For some reason, every sword and spear needed its own fucking profile. The Blades of Perdition were not enough. They had to add more. So there's Blood Angels
how else
have...
do you know it's going to be a special command squad?
So Blood Angels special power swords includes Blade of Perdition, the Sunset Blade, the Sunrise Blade, and the other Sunset Blade.
How many blades does it take to get to the center of the world?
Yes. So here's the funny thing. Equinox Power Blades can be used as a Sunset Blade or a Sunrise Blade. But the Sunset Blade is the one that the Crimson Paladins have. So that's why Sunset Blade pops up twice. Because one is Equinox Power Blade, okay? And it also has a Sunrise. You know? And it also has, like, those laser noises when you hit the button on it, like those kids' swords that you can buy. Pachoo, 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 when you hit the button, and
You mean
immediately,
badass lightsabers from the
yeah,
shop?
and that's when the parents immediately like pull the batteries out when the kid goes to bed and go, ah, it must go flat. You just used it too much, buddy. Yeah, brutal is in. Other stuff is out. All right, Legatine Axe, the Ultramarines. Motor Strike, fine. Reaping Blow, fine. Invictus Suzerain. Guess whose points are going up? Raven's Talons. So, Brutal 2. Rending 5+. Specialist weapon. +1 attack when you pair your Raven's Talons. I've used Paired because Paired only has one interpretation. Paired is, it's the same fucking thing. It's a pair of. You know? Yep. Phoenix Rapier and Phoenix Power Spears, I haven't changed those. The big changes that will occur there are going to be with the actual units themselves. Because both Palatine Blades and Phoenix Terminators need some minor tweaks. I don't want to go through the combat stance bullcrap, because that's just annoying busy work each turn, which had a clear choice that was better. So, but what I have changed is Graviton weapons for the Iron Warriors. So I've gone user strength +2 for the mace, user strength +3 for the Thunderhammer equivalent, and user strength +4 for the Dreadnought Power Fist equivalent. Unwieldy, -1 to your initiative for the Maul. Because if we don't give it unwieldy, then it's just a power maul with Haywire. It's just better.
Yeah.
Graviton Crush at Thunderhammer equivalent. Okay, it's not strength 8. It's not instant killing Terminators and Praetors and shit. It is striking before them. But it is two-handed, but it does have Haywire.
AP2.
So there are pros here.
Against Dreadnoughts.
Against Dreadnoughts and vehicles. And the Graviton Maul, Haywire, Exo Shock 4+ concussive, because it's a fucking Dreadnought slamming a fucking grab hammer into attack. It's going to hurt it. Last edition, it was just better to take a Dreadnought with Brutal 3. Now, Exo Shock is going to be, like, in its rule, it does, on a 4+, an additional wound to Automata, Dreadnoughts, and Walkers. And on a 4+, does additional hull point to vehicles. Like, easy. So, it will not be, you will take it on your Dreadnoughts, but it will be, as an option, much more enticing. Chainblade. So this is your Night Lords war gear. So, Shred gone, Brutal in. Same with the Chainglaive. Same with the Headsman's Axe.
Yep.
Eschaton Power Claw, Strikes Last, Brutal 2, and AP 1. So it has a clear niche. You can hit like a freight train, but you're getting essentially a Soulrite Gauntlet, but instead of Master Crafted, you're getting the Brutal 2.
What are they going again?
It is a Night Lord's character upgrade and some of their unique unit sergeants.
The Consecant Sergeant, that's about
Oh, okay, alright, yeah.
Alright, World Eaters. There are some upgrades and downgrades in here. So the Meteor Hammer pretty much plays out the same. So it's a slightly worse power maul, but the Concussive 2 and Reach 1 are pretty handy. The Excoriator Chain Axe, this I've souped up. So user strength +3, so strength 7, with a Furious Charge, strength 8, so dangerous to Marines. Brutal 2, Murderous Strike on a 6+. It was 5+, or I think last edition, 2.0. I've gone to 6+, because I'm like, 5+ is pretty excessive. But it's unwieldy -2, so -2 to your initiative when you're using it. So if you want to take it, that's fine, but do recognize you're probably going to strike last. So except going up against Terminators, it may not be the best choice because you might not have a lot of guys to swing back with it. That's the trade-offs I felt were appropriate. But I mean, you've seen the size of it. It's bigger than Gorefather on Angron. Like, should do damage. And I'm opening them up to Terminators as well as an upgrade to Terminator characters, which they weren't for whatever fucking reason. I don't know why a Terminator character couldn't take an Excoriated Chain Axe, because it's cool as shit. Felk's
Maybe it was something to do
Blades.
with they wanted people to still take the other guys, the Rampages. That's why maybe they didn't want them competing against the Rampages.
No, even on characters couldn't take it, like your Praetor.
Oh, yep.
All right, Felk's Blades. User strength was +1 in 2.0. Why? It's a short power sword. Why do it have +1 strength?
Well, you see, reasons?
Yeah. AP was 4. I don't see why it needed AP 4. I think 5 is plenty. It's specialist weapon. It's breaching 5+ instead of rending 4+ now. Why did it need to be rending? What makes a fucking power sword rending because of World Eater, a short power sword rending? It's basically a giant cookery knife, like a Gurkha knife.
You see, we have like that really cool bends in the middle of it, and like that's why it's just an instant kill half the time.
Yeah, so breaching is in. Keep in mind, World Eaters players, your Legion's getting significant buffs. You shouldn't have to be relying on, like, Felk's Blades on Rampages was such a dumb thing in 2.0. That's why people did it. Because it was the only way to really effectively
It's the only
run
way to
World
make
Eaters.
it work, yeah. Yep.
Removing that issue of World Eaters actually being not great in combat. I know, 2.0, they were not great in combat. Removing that issue for them negates the problem of them needing that rending 4+. And Barbed Hook Clash is melee, specialist weapon, Fleshbane, rending 6+. The Fleshbane's really the thing. Like, where this weapon comes in handy, it's not an everyday take. But if you're fighting something like Demons of the Ruinstorm, you're fighting a lot of really high toughness stuff, that's when it would come in handy. The low AP doesn't matter. The Fleshbane is really handy. That's the instance you want it. Power sides. Rending 4+, user strength +2, AP 3, Reaping Blow 1, so you're getting an additional attack when you're outnumbered. Unwieldy -1, so you're striking at -1 initiative. Kopesh Forceblade, 1,000 Suns. I thought, as a 1,000 Suns player of 30 years, don't judge me, I felt that they needed a unique weapon. Why do they have Kopesh Force Swords, and for some reason, like, they never had a fucking ability for them? It was always one that just was weird to me. So I thought, what is a Kopesh in real life? Well, it's a sword, but it has a lot of properties of an axe. It combines the two together. So you know what? It's a higher strength. It's not rending, but it is breaching. And it's a force weapon. Force is going to be 1.0 force. So essentially it becomes, if you pass the psychic tech, you get Murderous Strike.
Yep.
So the Gravis Force Blade, that is the Contemptor Dreadnought one. The Assyrian Dreadnought. So same thing, gets Murderous Strike on its attacks. Psychic weapon, so halves strength against Sis of Silence. Kea Force Claw, so that is the Castellax Kea. As, again, if they pass a psychic check, so you would need the psychic power cast. That unit will have the ability to do that if it has a character attached to it. That will be a thing that you can do with Praevians. They will be able to take Castellax Kea. To me, that makes sense. That should be the use case for them. It shouldn't be like it was in the past where they just did their own thing. And it was as long as you had a Psyker on the battlefield, within range of them, they were under control, because that was just, fuck, everyone was a Psyker. So it was never a fucking problem.
Yeah. Make it so they got their dedicated Psychopravian type thing.
Yes. So a Praevian console can
works.
instead take them instead of regular Castellax. Take a Kea. And if it takes them, it gets the Kea Force Claw, Strength 6, AP 3. Breaching 5+ with the Force special rule. Easy.
Excuse me.
Sonic Power Axe. So this is your Sons of Horus weapon. Melee, rending 4+, specialist weapon. Strength user. Rending 4+ is good. It's strength user, it's
Really
AP3. It's not a common weapon. It's not like Felk's Blades where you're going to have like 50 of them with fucking 5-6 attacks per guy.
There'll be 5 to 10 in a Terminator squad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on those sort of units, rending 4+ is nowhere near as dangerous as it was on a jump pack infantry unit with 5 attacks each. At strength 6 as well, like, and 7 in some cases on World Eaters. That is not what Sons of Horus do. Tainted Blades. So, yep, they've kept their Murderous Strike. Tainted Axe became unwieldy -2. The Maul is concussive and Murderous Strike, this kind of thing. Tainted Claw, Tainted Talons, those are options on the Galval back. Axe Rake, unwieldy -1, but brutal 2. +1 strength on the unit. So it's kind of power sword meets power axe. Probably a slightly weaker power axe is what I'd compare it to. But the brutal 2, more likely to get wounds through. Power dagger, it was listed as strength 3. I thought that was dumb because if it's on like a strength 5, strength 10 guy, why should it be minus, like strength 3? Makes no sense. So I just said user -1. Yeah, then we get into your basic combat weapons and your chain weapons. So chain weapons, I'm getting rid of the shred on everything. I thought that was just silly. They didn't really need it. There are other quirks I would rather do on the units than having like all chain swords are shredding.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Chain swords are just meant to represent, like, they're just another type of basic, like, combat weapon.
It was really unfair against, like, Solar Auxiliary and shit. Made it even worse and more oppressive for, like, your Toughness 3 armies and shit. Because they're just getting fucking fingered.
Was the case, but the problem that, like, the spoilers Assault Marines had in 1.0, more so the spoilers, because the Assault Marines at least had the utility of the jump pack, was you throw them into combat and then they hit like wet toilet paper, even if you've got 20 of them, which by the time they get into combat, they'd probably be whittled down to 15 at the least.
Yeah.
At the most. And then it's like, well, I've got 2 to 3 attacks each, but, you know, I hit on 4s, I win on 4s, only a quarter of those go through, and then most of it gets saved by power armor. So it's like, cool, my 15 guys did 2 wounds on the attack squad.
Yeah, you take more damage from getting overwatched.
My fix to that is going to be on the units themselves, though. So I want Furious Charge to be a thing that's baked in on those units. So you're getting that +1 strength on the charge to try and make up some of that damage over the shred.
But that's fine, as long as there's something to compensate. Because, again, like I was saying, I get your point of, you know, it's a bit much, doesn't feel like they should, but
it was never baked into the points, though, is the problem with, like, having shred on your chain swords.
Yeah.
And on, like, units like Raven Guard, it was like, oh, I'll get shred anyway, fucking lightning claws. It wasn't baked into the points, and it was like against Marines, it was without the shred, you hit like a wet piece of paper. But when you went up against Solar Auxilia or Militia, it was guaranteed death.
Yeah.
So, and that was just too much. So this dials it back a step, but by giving those units Furious Charge, saying like, look, it's the headstrong guys, the more aggressive guys that are going to despoil and assault squads.
Yeah.
I think that having Furious Charge is what should make that gap up. Because otherwise you get into circumstances where it's like, well, bolt gun guys just taking like chain bayonets, you know, and they're just as good in close combat, pretty much, which is not great. Heavy chainsword was crap in 2.0. So my fix is unwieldy, so you strike slower, but brutal too. So Strength 6,
Yeah,
brutal
makes sense.
2 on the charge in Despoilers. It's going to be strength 7. That's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
An auto takeover, something like a power sword? No. But if it's like 5 points, you got my attention.
Yeah.
Would you
I don't know.
consider giving the heavy chainsword an AP value?
The problem with heavy chainswords and even with Furious Charge and Shred is that you're still better off with the regular chainsword because you get the extra attack. I actually have to double check my maths with brutal, but you're looking at very similar numbers, but you're paying points for it, and it's just a weird spot for the heavy chainsaw to be in.
It's going to be
Against
5 points
Marines.
at this stage. 5 points is what the heavy
Five.
chainsword's going to be.
I don't know. I'd still keep it at 2 points like they are in 2.0. Because
Okay.
to be transparent, when you start finding stuff that's got a higher base toughness than T4, like Automata, then the math does change and it's like, oh, okay, they do have a bit of a place. But against a lot of stuff like Marines, Auxilia, they're a bit rough. So I think 2
Yeah, it
points,
changes it.
and maybe if it does turn out like, man, these are really good, you want to take them all the time, then okay, we can bump them up to 5.
I might put him up to AP4. We'll see. We'll see. Audience, let us know what you would prefer. All right, the chain axe. So I'm just saying strength user, melee, AP4.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a use case for making it higher strength and re-rolling wounds and things like that. Like, you're getting AP4. You can ignore the armor saves on Castellax, on Thalax, all of the Solar Auxilia and all of the Militia. Like, that's its niche. It's really good at that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Chain Fist, strikes last, Armor Bane, strength user
Yep.
times 2. Easy.
Perfect.
Gravis Chain Fist, so your Dreadnought one, user plus 4. Melee, Armor
So that
Bane.
makes does that make the dreadnought like strength 12?
Yeah, strength 11.
Strength 11.
Strength
So
11, AB2, murder.
Sorry, strength 10. They're only strength 6 for a contemptor.
It goes strength 10, murder strike, AP2.
Yeah, which is what it is now.
exactly right.
Is it murder strike?
Yep.
Yeah, murder strike 6 up. The reason why you don't see it against other dreads is you take the brutal 3 over the instant death, which is only D3 at best.
Oh, okay.
So it's got the armor bane and the murder strike. It's basically for killing dreadnoughts, other dreadnoughts, and vehicles. But I also gave it unwieldy -2. Because I didn't want it to be an auto include over a regular Gravis Chain Fist. If you say, oh, well, this is murderous strike and it strikes at the same time, people go, huh, that's pretty good. And also up against like characters and things like that in close combat. There should be a chance for people to get strikes in on it. And I've never liked that dreadnoughts have always been these really high initiative units. Like, you're lumbering a fucking behemoth, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Chain Bayonet. It's melee, it's two-handed, it's strength user plus 1. That's it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Charnable Sabers and T-Bars and Glaives haven't really changed them in 2.0. I don't think they need it.
No, I don't think they did. They were good the way they were.
Force weapons. Exact same as power swords, power axes, power mauls, and...
Except psychic weapon.
Yeah.
Force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Makes sense.
So psychic weapon, again, just halves the strength of the user.
Yep.
Power swords, lances, mauls, all that. Yep, hasn't really changed, except axes is now the unwieldy -1. So you're striking typically initiative 3 with Marines. I've also done this for Solar Auxilia. So if I went unwieldy -2 on power axes on Solar Auxilia, they're striking at the same time as Terminators are striking with power fists. That's not fair.
Yeah.
So unwieldy -1 will also translate across the Solar Aug/Militia. So they'll be striking initiative 2 typically.
Yeah.
All right, Power Fists. Strikes last, specialist weapon. Gravis Power Fist, so Dreadnought. User plus 4. So strength 10 typically. AP 2, melee, brutal 2. So
Yeah, that's fine.
roll 2 armor saves. If you fail 2 of them, you still only take the 1 wound. If it's instant death, so be it. It's a fist the size of your model. You're fucked anyway.
Yeah.
Thunderhammer. I've actually gone back to the Trial 2.0 rules here, given it Sunder.
Hmm.
So it partially cuts into the territory of the Chain Fist,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, it's just saying it's not a Power Fist, it's not a Chain Fist, and I don't see a reason why it should be brutal. As I said, brutal weapons are weapons that, if anything was going to be brutal, I think the Chain Fist better suits it because of that giant chainsaw hacking into you. Brutal should represent like certainty, a surety of damage. And I don't think a Thunderhammer should be surety of damage.
So I think I would have taken it in a slightly different direction. So if you go back to like Heresy First Ed or even 5th edition, the way it sort of broke out was that the Power Fist was the premier melee weapon.
I'd go
for
rending.
just hear me out. So it was the premier melee weapon, and there was only 2 weapons that were like a step above. One was the Chain Fist, and that's when you specialize in anti-armor, and that's why it's got Armor Bane. And then the Thunderhammer had Concussive, which sort of specialized it more towards monstrous creatures.
So do you want to go back to like
Oh,
concussive? Do
yeah.
you want to go back to like concussive
Yeah,
too?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, I
Because
agree.
there's still instant deathing Marines, which means you don't really need the concussive. You don't need
The brutal.
the brutal. And yeah, Battle Hardened's going to be floating around now, but if they're Battle Hardened, they have to have 2 wounds, otherwise the rule's pointless.
Yeah.
Which means concussive, because they'll have more of them around, and it applies to the unit, not to the individual model. When you come around to the next round of combat, you've sort of knocked them off their feet, and you can follow up. And again, it gives a reason to why the Thunderhammer will cost more than the Power Fist, without drastically changing what it does. And it also it sort of brings it back to what it always was meant to be, but with the way other the
Yeah, it was a
concussive
crushing
rolls-
weapon. Yeah, I like it, dude. I really like that, Das. I agree.
Done.
Mhm.
All right. Lightning Claw. Again,
Yeah,
no
as we
shred,
discussed
gets
before.
brutal. Otherwise, no change. Paragon Blade, no change.
Same as it was. Yeah, good.
All right, servo weapons. So servo arm, strength user ×2, AP2, melee unwieldy. I'm not sure what I wanted to put for unwieldy there on servo arms. If I wanted to go strikes last on servo arm and unwieldy, 1 on machinator was what I was
Oh,
thinking.
you put shred on the next one too for some reason.
And
I thought you were getting rid
unwieldy,
of shred.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
brutal too.
Yeah,
I
gotcha.
would put strikes last on the servo arm.
Yeah,
It's just always the way it's been. It's always been, you get to initial step 1, you get that extra attack.
yeah. True. Wasn't the
Um,
machinator the same as well?
No, the machinator.
Not in
Don't remember
2.0.
off the top of my head. Yeah,
Oh, aren't we
and
going off the 1.0 because that's where we're balancing our point system from
no,
mainly?
we're pulling. In terms of the core rules themselves, we're pulling mostly from 1.0. The weapons we've tended to go 2.0 with a mix of 1.0. It also sort of helps the machinator or array distinguish itself a bit more from the servo arm, where instead of being essentially a power fist, it's more of a, well, Doc Ock arms.
Yeah,
Is the
gotcha.
way to think about it.
More technical, more Fabius.
Yeah, it's a bit more of just throwing a random haymaker in, or severing, like a severing cut in between your attacks, rather than just big swing up. What's next?
Next is the Las Cutter. So strength 7, AP1, melee, unwieldy, cumbersome.
What do we
Now,
get cumbersome for?
unwieldy and cumbersome are carryover rules, and I'm kind of
yeah,
in the I'd rather put it as like unwieldy 2 and get rid of cumbersome.
I would prefer strikes last.
Strikes last.
And change cumbersome rather than hitting with weapon skill 1, just reduces it down to 1 attack. Because I
Yeah, one
don't
attack
mind
only.
the las cutter essentially being like, okay, I've got this cutting tool, and I can only sort of make 1 attack with it because it's not really designed to be a melee weapon. But the weapon skill, the fact that it forces you to weapon skill 1, even in 1.0's weapon skill chart,
Never gonna hit anything.
yeah, and you've only got 1 attack, so it's like, if
It's
it
not
was
gonna make a big ding. Yeah.
yeah, if you got your normal attacks, it's like no, okay, I can deal with it being weapon skill 1, but I prefer it this way because it's like, okay, you've got to put all your concentration into it, and that's why you're doing 1 attack. But at least you've got a decent chance of the 1 attack doing something.
Yeah, you're pairing up that spirit ball, that spirit bomb.
Kinda, because there's nothing worse than like I've taken the cool thing, but the cool thing never goes off because it punishes me so hard for taking the
You
cool
hit
thing.
with it. Yeah.
And no one ever takes it. Again, it's only breaches that have it. I can't think of another unit off the top of my head that has a las cutter.
And the only other
Maybe
thing
some Mechanicum shit.
Nah, not even. The only other thing that's got the cumbersome rule is the Atropos on its night-sized version of the las cutter, which everyone fucking hates what they did to it in 2.0.
All right, Melter Bomb. Pretty much unchanged. All I've added in there is Melter Weapon. Because it wasn't a Melter Weapon, and that's bullshit. And I don't think Melter Bombs, personally, open to hear thoughts. I don't think Melter Weapons, Melter Bombs in particular, should work against Armored Ceramite.
Yeah, you're right.
It's still Armored Ceramite, it's still a fucking Melter Weapon. Like, yeah, you got in close, congratulations, try Crack Grenade, buddy. Like, this is where Chain Fists come in, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's fine now. In 1.0, I got it just because, in terms of ranged anti-tank, there wasn't a ton going around that could push through armor in the same way that it can in 2.0. Whether it's because, or even in Circle Edition, because we've bumped up the strength of the las cannons, we've bumped up the number of shots on certain things to compensate for the loss of twin links. Like, there's much more reasonable answers to anti-tank. And then there's going to be more anti-tank options in melee between, chain fists, some other weapons here or there, that it's fine to now make the change and go, yeah, it counts as a melter weapon. The only other thing that I'd add is for Melter Bomb. In 2.0, there are people that argue that, because I equipped my unit with a Melter Bomb and it counts as a close combat weapon, so long as it's not the close combat weapon being used, it still counts as an additional close combat weapon for getting a bonus attack. So not even the 1 attack only, it's they'd use it for the other weapon to get the bonus attack for 2 close combat weapons. So if they had just like a melee weapon or
I remember.
Whatever. Yeah, so just something like it's part of the reason why it annoyed me that the crack grenades were war gear, but the melter bomb was a weapon. Yeah. It's like why is it not consistent?
On here I've also got Unwieldy Strikes Last.
Yeah, strikes last is fine.
Yep.
Cool. Alright. Now Leviathan Siege Core. User +4. Melee Brutal 3. For some reason it was Brutal 3 last edition. Same as a fucking Contemptor. Nobody took them. So, yeah. Leviathan Seed Drill, user +5. It's strength 12, I believe, in 2.0, so this would be in alignment with that. Armor Bane, Murder Strike 5+, Unwieldy -2, so it's just stronger strength version of what the Dreadnought's rocking.
Yeah, cool. I like it.
Designed to kill fucking vehicles and shit. Corpuscent Stave, melee 2-handed Haywire.
Yeah.
And the bayonet, the stock bayonet, user strength +1, melee two-handed. I don't see why chain bayonet and bayonet need to have different stat lines. They're a fucking bayonet. You're getting stabbed in the belly. It's not going to be great either way. You're not going to be like, oh, thank God, he only used a rusty bayonet instead of the chainsaw.
At that point, we may as well just call them bayonet and just keep it a visual option. Like, it's just redundancy at this point.
It is redundancy, but it is also
Like,
preaching
yeah,
to
you're preaching to the converted.
the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
All right, so that is all of the weapons profiles for the Astartes in Circle Edition. Takes cues from 2.0 and 1.0 at the same time. Obviously, we need to know your thoughts, and if you want,
You go back over that siege claw again, please, Mako, on the Leviathan.
Oh yeah. So it's strength user +5. It's
Yep.
AP2. It's armor
Yep.
bane, murderous strike on a 5+, but initiative -2.
Yeah, cool. So what's the base initiative of the Leviathan?
Low.
Yeah, you know what it is? What is it? Is it 4?
It was 4 in 2.0, I believe, but I'm probably going to make it like 3.
What
eventually.
initiative do you want it to strike at?
Initiative 1 or 2. I don't want it
Okay.
to be a strikes last. I want it to, like, say, play Emperor's Children, +1 initiative on the charge. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay.
I want it to be able to potentially get those swings in before some of the other, like, really hard hitters do.
Yeah, gotcha.
So, yeah, but that's the weapons. So, doing a lot to clean them up, and I'm just trying to, like, the pages, there's more pages than there needs to be, just because I've broken them up a bit for formatting purposes. Like, instead of having just one line of, like, chantable weapons, for example, on a different page, I've just tried to condense it down to get as much as I can onto single pages. Some of them, like Legion melee weapons, there's a long list. It takes multiple pages anyway. But this is just one chart that has all the weapons for the whole Marine faction done and dusted. You know, so you're not having to flick through the book to each individual unit one by one. No matter what Legion you play, it's all there. The only time you should be needing to flick into that book is for, like, your Primarch, which, let's face it, there's so many fucking rules. You are anyway.
Yeah,
And
you're going to pull your Primarch up every time on the page.
yeah, because you need, like, a degree in account-nomancy to fucking decipher how they roll. And same for your special characters. Because, again, they've got special rules that are unique to them, warlord traits that are often unique to them, weapons that are unique to them, and stat lines that are unique to them. You just tend to look them up regardless. Everyone does. It's only the people who play the same army for a long period of time, and they're just, I've been playing Iron Warriors for fucking 10 years. I fucking memorized tyrants. We're really happy for you. They're the only people who memorize everything. And especially when it's like special characters with bullshit special rules like Sigismund, people will ask you questions and want you to show them. Are you sure that's how that works? Like when Randy goes, Macca, my Lehman Russ strikes strength 10 in close combat with his fucking power sword. Right?
Hey, Macca,
and I start giving...
down,
what's the fucking Samuel L. Jackson, that fucking stare he has, with like the crazy hair? that was me. So
I'm sorry, Randy. What weapon skill is Rogo Loan? Weapon skill 8, you say? I call fucking bullshit on that.
I never supported Rogal Dawn's
no.
weapon skill being 8.
Well,
but Lehman Russ being 9, I'm down with it.
But Randy, don't you see? Like, no one ever said that Rogal Dawn wasn't great in close combat.
I don't know. That sounds like a guy that would say plasma is not an anti-armor weapon.
Oh, don't even
go against armor.
Don't go there.
That guy the other day.
Randy, the velocity, it's just too low. And ceramics are really high temperature resistant.
Ceramics designed to be temperature resistant. It's like, ask fucking people who have re-entered the Earth's atmosphere in spacecraft how temperature resistant the ceramic is. It is until it's not. And you can't ask the people. You can't ask the people where it went wrong how bad it was because they're not fucking around.
Yeah, well, look, you might be very temperature resistant, but are you surface of the sun resistant? Because that's essentially what you're firing at them.
But wait, is the floor slip proof?
Yeah, it's the same as saying like something is bullet resistant, right? Because you remember they used to say like, oh, there's bulletproof vests. Well, no one ever calls them bulletproof vests. They're bullet resistant, right? Kevlar is bullet resistant. Even ceramic plates in your body armor are bullet resistant. They're rated for basically like the first round, maybe 3, right? And it's like,
and
yeah, it's
not
resistant.
like, and when it's not resistant to knocking you the fuck out though.
Yeah, it's like, and by the way,
just because it doesn't penetrate you doesn't mean it doesn't drop you on your ass.
Yeah, and the person inside that vest also bullet resistant, just not very. You know, and it's the same thing with like plasma weapons. Like, yeah, ceramite armor, yeah, it is plasma resistant, just not very. it's a fucking plasma gun. Like, they wouldn't use it if it didn't work. If it's doing the same thing as a bolt gun, no one would take plasma. They'd be like, oh well, the bolt gun at least won't blow me up when I fire it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that fucking social media. Do you reckon he was trolling? I don't think he was. I think that dude was just legit.
Oh, you never know. You just never know.
In that group, yeah.
Yeah, in the group, there's no trolls. Just peanuts.
So yeah, so this is the fix to that. Darcy and I actually spent a long time last night going over the unique Legion consoles. We did all 18 Legions functionally. I've just got to write them down in full. But we came with some really fun stuff. So, for example, Dark Angels, we decided that we're going to get rid of the Hexagamaton for their Legion trait, like having to pick like 6 different fucking, oh, well, this squad's going to be Deathwing, that one over there is going to be Dreadwing, this one over here is going to be Anal Fisting. No, we got rid of that. So instead,
Anal Fisting's my favorite.
Oh yeah, deep.
I bet it is.
Just that sound as you're putting it into Darcy's.
Oh Jesus!
Doesn't even touch the sides.
Hot dog down the hallway.
So we came up with some really, really fun consoles to represent those wings instead. So the Paladin of the Hecatonicica was going to become the Paladin of the Deathwing. Firewing was going to get essentially Cypher. The Ravenwing is going to get a Master of the Ravenwing. They're getting a Land Speeder Javelin. With essentially the Derrideo's plasma guns. And,
that's cool.
And either a plasma cannon or a heavy disintegrator for its pintle weapon. Which you can join to squadrons of land speeders or jet bikes. We've also got the infantry one was going to be it was going to be a buff unit to the infantry. We were looking at the apothecary type thing because apparently the Stormwing is full of the apothecaries of the Legion. So we were doing something different to the Primus Medicae, and it was going to have a rule similar to what the Solar Auxilia special character had, which is the revive a wound in your turn type thing. So that would be a fun, unique console. The Dreadwing, we're going to get not a Moritz.
It's going to be a Siegebreaker-esque console.
Siegebreaker meets Moritat is how I describe it. So that was what we're doing there. For the Emperor's Children, it was going to be the Noise Marine character. Because
Cacophonix Prime.
And essentially the unit he joins will no longer gets hot on their sonic weapons.
Yep.
So you're really just talking cacophony. But the current character they have is just, do you want a champion? Well, now it's in purple flavor, which is dumb. White Scars going to get... actually, no, it's Iron Warriors for White Scars. They got the Warsmith. White Scars, they get a character who is essentially a souped-up version of the Golden Kashyyyk, and he's just amplifying your glass cannon abilities. The Space Wolves, they're going to get the Speaker of the Dead. We're not going to give them other speaker types. They're not having this special fucking librarian, because they're not special. Librarian's a fucking librarian, right? It's just the Space Wolves one, he used the power of Fenris. That's the fucking difference. To me, that doesn't need a special console type. It's
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 just
one line in the Legion trade that goes, and they make take powers from this discipline. Here's your discipline. Have fun.
it's just easy. Um,
Yep.
Yeah.
Imperial Fist, they're getting the Castellan console, but now the Castellan console is going to change from all your heavy support squads get scoring line in 2.0. It's going to be you can pick a unit in your deployment zone. That unit has scoring, and he instead gives counterattack to the unit he joins. So it's a defensive minded console.
Yeah, that's
Just
cool.
simply,
I like that.
the unit that he gives scoring, it's not that a unit in your deployment zone gets scoring and they keep first game. It's you pick a unit, and while they're in your deployment zone, they get scoring.
The Night Lords, they're going to get a tank. So very similar to the Deimos Command Rhino. And essentially it's blasting noise propaganda and it's coveting crucified, still alive soldiers from your side. So it's a 12-inch sphere bubble around the vehicle and it gets to delay your reserves. So either a negative modifier or making you re-roll a successful reserve roll.
So if you don't want to bring your shit in.
Yeah. It's like they're either afraid to come to battle or you're disrupting their comms because that's the sort of things Night Lords do. The who's after Night Lords? Blood Angels. Blood Angels. What were we giving Blood Angels again? Legit don't remember.
Do a bloodthirsty guy. Do a Dynat Amils Dynat type guy, like a Red First guy or something.
Dynamite's the Alpha Legion bloke. Do you
No,
mean
I was thinking along the line of like the old.
Fucking what's his name with the twin chain fists?
Yeah.
Fucking, it's on the tip of my tongue, eh?
Nasir Amit.
Yeah, Amit. That's it. Thank you.
I'm thinking more along the lines of like the Sanguinary Priest.
Yeah. Did we say
yeah.
Sanguinary Priest or did we say like a Sanguinary Guard champion type thing?
Well,
There's
I
one of
thought
the
that's
two.
what Ascalion's for, and I kind of want to do him as a special character for them.
Yeah, you do want to do him.
Yeah, man. It's the 6-pack on the golden armor.
I bet you would, politics.
Gets me moister than an oyster.
That's fucked.
So Iron Hands, obviously, they get the
Special
Iron Father.
Iron Father, yep.
The World Eaters, we were going to give them Pit Champion.
Cool. I was just about to say some kind of gladiator type dude. Yeah, sick.
Yeah.
and he's kind of like
challenge. You can do like a cool thing where if they're in a challenge, they get bonuses and shit.
Not quite.
No,
if
because
they win a challenge, they're like a mini Angron. They get a bonus attack.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
I love that.
They're not giving you bonus victory points because we've already baked that in with the champions and praetors into our system as a core rule. So giving that to them is redundant. You're just making them a champion. So instead, you gain an attack each time you successfully win a challenge.
Yeah, that's cool.
Literally, and I'm not giving it a cap because how many challenges in a maximum 7-turn game is that dude getting into? My guess is probably only like 6, and that's if he's rocking them all.
Well, we're not playing 4-turn games with objectives only?
No, strange
if
that.
You want to write your own missions, sure, but we're not doing that work for you.
No, the missions, by the way, are going to be pulled from all
1.0.
9 of 1.0's missions. We're going to be picking the cream of the crop for the core missions in Circle Edition.
Yeah, fucking oath.
The Ultramarine special character is going to be a Herald, but it's a Herald
I love that
goes into allied detachments. It goes into your Solar Ox and Militia, and it can join any unit in those armies, basically. And they will get Fearless, and they get scoring while he's in there. When he dies, no matter if they've got any morale or whatever, they just automatically rout that unit. They do an automatic fallback move if he dies. So he's just inspiring the hell out of like the Militia and the Solar Ox forces that he joins. So he's
cool. That's really cool.
I just thought that was more thematic and goes in line with like the Invictus Suzerain's like aura of bullshit that they give off.
It's called Ego Mecha.
Yeah.
Ego.
The Death Guard, we were going to give them a Toxin Master / Poison Master type character.
Yeah. Chem Alchemist.
Yeah. And it was going to work.
Alchemist, even.
Yeah, so works similar to the Saboteur in the Alpha Legion. And basically, you before you start the game, before the start of turn 1, he essentially has thrown like toxin landmines out there, and it causes X number of essentially phosphex hits on units as his thing. And then he operates himself more like a Vigilator console. So, like a special ammo type bolt gun with combi flamer type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the Poison Master. After 1,000 Suns, it's the Assyrian Dreadnought. It's going to move from being a regular Dreadnought type to it's actually a console, and you can take it as the head of the army when you're running Fury of the Ancients.
Well, who's that? Sorry.
The Assyrian
Dreadnought.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Psycho Dreadnought for 1,000 Suns. It should be a character. It makes sense. Saying that 1,000 Suns gets something like, I don't know, Psychic Librarian. Like, guess what? They already were. Like, it's just silly. They're going to get other buffs. The Sons of Horus, they were going to keep the Dark Emissary. The
I like it.
Salamanders are going to get essentially
Chaplain?
Chaplain meets Librarian.
Nice.
So,
Fuck yeah,
in
I
the
love
same
that.
way that the Space Wolves got Chaplain meets Primus Medicae, the Salamanders are getting the Prometheum Cult inspired Chaplain. The Raven Guard, we're going to get...
Please tell me like an assassin type character or something. Like a Shuriken type.
So essentially Super Moritat.
Yep.
So, like Kitus Next, they were the originators of the Moritat. They should be able to buy something kind of like Kitus Next instead of regular Moritats that they can take instead. And that's where that character came in. If you want to do
Legion keeping Saboteur.
Yeah, if you want to do like a Vigilator or something that already exists, it's called the Vigilator console.
Yeah.
So instead, it was a Super Moritat for the Raven Guard.
Okay.
The Alpha Legion, of course, are keeping
Saboteur.
their Saboteur. Oh, and the Word Bearers have the Diabolist. So that was all the consoles for everyone sorted. Rights of War rework as well. We discussed that, and the way it's going to work is Rights of War, instead of being there's the good one and there's the other one, which is what they are now, it's going to be we want to try and hit two radically different types of Rights of War. So,
Currently,
now,
some legions do it well, and some legions don't. An example of ones that don't are the Iron Warriors. Both of them are very much shooty, heavy versions of Rights of War. It's just that one is just more guns, more heavy support, and the other one is more artillery spam.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you have ones that do it well. Imperial Fist, they've got the Templar focus, and then they've got their Hammerfall
teleport,
their Breacher one, and then they've got a teleport one.
Yeah. So I'd like to ideally get it to 3 for everyone. We also looked at the core Rights of War, and we want to make 3 distinct deep striking ones. So Vanguard Assault, Vanguard Deep Strike Assault, essentially. So that's your jet bikes, assault marines type thing. Land speeders, flyers. Then there's your drop pod assault Rite of War, which is, funny enough, drop pods, dread cores, that kind of thing. And then the teleport assault, which is your Terminators, but here's the kicker, breaches. Because there is no good Rite of War outside of the Imperial Fist Phalanx one that really utilizes breaches. It's like, well, what, canonically, we have lots of examples of breaches doing teleport attacks to get on board enemy vessels and such. It makes perfect sense that a Breacher Terminator force should be able to teleport in. So they're going to be the options in that Rite of War, rather than it becoming teleporting, as Darcy put it last night, rather than it currently where it's teleporting Pride of the Legion.
Yeah.
So That fixes a lot of those shenanigans, we'll say. So we're doing a lot to clean up the Rights of War. Also, consoles. So this was a personal bugbear of mine 2.0, is the consoles are spread from asshole to breakfast. You've got all unique Legion ones, which is fine, except like they often just say refer back to that character for their war gear. No. In the Legions, it's going to have everything you need to know about that console in there. When it comes to the consoles themselves, Centurion is just a type of console. It's not the baseline for everything necessarily now, where you upgrade the Centurion into. There will be a fixed price point for each console. And that will be laid out, and all of the consoles will just be one after the other, page after another. You're not going to have to flick to different sections of the book to find where all the consoles are, like in this edition. So, another big change is the special rules is going to be like this weapons chart, where all the weapons are in one chart. Guess what all the special rules are going to be? They're going to all be in one chart, and it's going to be right at the back of the book along with the weapons. So I thought about putting it at the front. At the front's going to be the index or the glossary glossary will do. I don't know, like a table of contents. There you go. That's better. I don't want people to have to flick back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back if they choose to print this out for themselves, because this is going to be a free PDF. Instead, it will be, all right, I can take pages, 40 to 48, and that's the special rules pages. Cool. Stapled. They're their own booklet. All right, I want all the weapons. Cool. Pages, 48 through to 64. Pull it out, staple it, done. Right? Yep. And they can separate them out. They're not having to go through the entire fucking thing. So trying to make it really user-friendly. But if you know how 1.0 plays, it's really just 1.0. The biggest area we've tweaked is Psychic Phase and vehicles. And the vehicles debate is ongoing. So a lot of the people in the comments want it to be vehicles operate like Dread Talons. That was very common. I think Randy was right the other night, though, that we need to play test it and see how it actually rolls, because it might be oppressive. So, that's it, audience. I say audience, we've been talking to one another, but explaining the thought process through. That's what it's looking like. Concussive works like in 2.0. I don't know if we mentioned that. So if you take a wound from it, -1 on your weapon skill to that unit. So if you game and you want to get those shotguns in close to that Terminator command squad, you're braver than I am, but go for it.
We're not going to allow people to stack that though, are we? It's like you can't shoot them with a concussive, make them -1 weapon skill, then another unit shoots them with a concussive.
No, once concussed, you're just concussed. Unless it's concussive
like
too.
Fear.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that shit to make sure people don't try and do that kind of shit.
No. That's going to be in the core rulebook. It's if you're under the effects of something like concussive, if you were hit by concussive 1, you are concussed 1. If you get hit by another concussive 1, you are still concussed 1.
Yeah, makes sense.
Generally, stuff doesn't stack unless it explicitly calls out it stacks in the Heresy rules, even the existing ones.
Yeah.
Like Feel No Pain doesn't stack, Fear doesn't stack. A lot of special rules don't stack on top of each other. So yeah, it's not unreasonable to suggest that.
I didn't throw in an additional stat line for the new whatever the fuck that not accelerator, because they had to name it something else that was like a diverse fucking
the Arachne, because it's not even Arachnus, it's like the Arachne turret.
Yeah, the Arachne, the quad autocannon turret. That thing is just going to be armed with 2 accelerator autocannons. Ta-da! Yep. Like, it doesn't need its own profile. It's just armed with 2 accelerator autocannons. So guess what? Heavy 16, Rending 6+, Exoshock 6+. It's got a lot of fucking shots.
I can't believe after all these years, like, just shy of a decade, maybe 8 years, from showing off the Derrida's automatic pervase, that they finally brought it into Heresy for a fucking gun turret.
Yeah, no shit.
Like, come on, guys. You had the model.
You had it. You had it there.
Yeah. And that unit's going to come in under artillery as well, not heavy
Yeah.
support.
No.
Like you want to take a crazy amount of firepower on an auto cannon turret, go for it. It's sitting still though. It's a mobile. It's sitting in one spot, and it's going to have 16 strict 7 AP4 rating 6+, extra shock 6+ shots, and that's it. I don't even think I'll give it Skyfire, to be honest. It looks like it's too slow and cumbersome to shoot at aircraft, and the guns in all the images they've shown are pointing at ground level, so it might not even have the elevation to do it.
I didn't read the article too clearly, but I think it did say it was set up for anti-air as well.
Oh no!
Yeah, I think it did.
Anyway.
Oh, well, this this just in. Coming up, Diane's weight.
Yeah, so logical changes across the board. Points is a huge one, like when we start really getting into the crux of the units. And I literally have a calculator specifically that I designed and I showed on the circle months ago, which is you can literally plug the stat lines in and it spits you out a rough approximation of what it should cost. Then we can adjust from there. And that's if we need to use it. Because in most cases, we just know. Like, you look at Invictus Suzerain and you go, bullshit. Like, they're like Steven Seagal. They're the masters of bullshito.
We are going to have to plan a fuck cut visit where we are all at your place and get, like, maybe 5 days worth of, like, come up for, like, take some time off, maybe come up and just do, like, a whole chunk of play testing.
Yeah, probably
so maybe
we need to find a date. It's gonna be hard with like baby
holidays, maybe. Yeah.
I was gonna say 5 days is a lot of time. It's gonna be a pain to plan.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah, Darcy's already pretty loose. I don't know, like how much more he can take. He already needs to use a bag.
Say, like, last time you got that 44-gallon drum of oil. I think we're going to need at least 2 of those.
We lather him up. It's like on 1.2 acres, so we like to lather him in oil and make him run around my forest. We try and like, you try and like tackle him like a greasy pig.
Take him down to the tunnels of the fuck up.
Was that one? Was it when Cartman's trying to get vaccinated and he like greases himself up and they're like chasing him around at like the rodeo?
You go down onto the fuck up looking for some baby. You're like, Ashton Kutcher, what are you doing here?
We're not coming out the closet. All right, man. So that's it. That's where we're heading. And a lot of these values, a lot of these weapons translate 1-to-1 across to militia and soul rogues. So like your battle cannons are getting better, your vanquishers are getting worse, your plasmas got a lot better. Demolishers, they're back. Your fucking transports, Drakasans, they just got a fucking lot better between Gravis Las Cannon being strength 10 now and Demolisher Cannon being back. So, like, we are probably as well, I know we've discussed in the past, but 2 tiers of super heavy. So, super heavy and ultra heavy type thing. We've discussed it. I think it needs to come back for, like, Melkadors and such. They're your lowest level of super heavy. So,
weren't Melkadors heavy support choices in 1.0?
They were for Solar Ox, but they were a super heavy vehicle. And then
I remember there was Legion ones.
They were heavy support as of the second Red Books.
Oh, yep, gotcha.
Because the Melkador, people got upset. By people, I mean riders, got butthurt when their own personal armies had these vehicles explode in the middle of their armies and they got too close to them and then it killed their own guys and then they had to cry about it. So they decided rather than like trying to come up with a better solution to it kamikazing them, they would just outright turn them into just a shittier vehicle and just a slightly tougher Lehman Russ, which was never the right solution. No, we're just going to change it how it works. So it's going to be taking the benefits of like a regular tank, but being able to move and split fire and all that kind of thing, but not exploding in like de-explosions in the middle of your army anymore. That should be reserved for the Baneblade chassis and upwards.
Your falchions and shit like that. Yeah.
So
Your big
and
high reactor shit.
D is gone, but high strength explosions will still be a thing. And there's not going to be a de-explosion table now if your vehicle. Well, where does it scatter when it explodes? Like, no. It's going to be fucking radius around the vehicle. Just measure. All models within 2 inches take a strength 10 hit. All models within 4 inches take a strength 8 hit. All models within 6 inches take a fucking strength 6 hit. Done. Like, doesn't need to be anything crazier than that.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I know that's a lot
Nice.
to throw out there, but this hopefully gives people an idea of where the edition is heading. And now that I've done a lot of these weapon profiles, I only have to add in the missing stuff, which for Mechanicum is going to be most of... Mechanicum weapons read like Volkites. They're just a whole bunch of names that make no sense, but I will do that chart. I will do that table. It's mostly... Their weapons are mostly being 1.0 inspired, not 2.0 inspired.
Yeah, I agree.
That's fair.
Yeah, so that's it. I'm just going to stop recording now. Bye.